Hey guys, welcome back to Feel the Drive and another Downshift podcast. Today we've got Joe Miller from Miller Corner. How you doing, Joe?
Very good, pal. How are you?
Yeah, doing great, doing great. Just finished watching the Grand Prix, which my flatmates have been made to watch by me. So,
Good man. Good man.
did you have you been watching any of it?
To be honest, I haven't. It's a bit of a. It's going to sound like a cardinal sin, but I don't do Formula One. I know that sounds terrible, but I can't get to grips with it. The only real motorsport I follow is British Superbike, particularly that I'm really into. But Formula One, not so much, really.
Is it just something that you've never really gotten into growing up, or is it just no interest?
It sounds like a cliche, but it's very samey Formula One. I tend to think, like, you see the result and you go, "Oh, the chap who qualified first won. What a surprise!" And it's a bit samey. I've never really. I saw it in person once about 12, 13 years ago, and even as a kid, it wasn't that exciting to watch. So I don't know. Bike racing just seems to resonate more with me to actually watch live. So
Yeah, no, I kind of get you. I mean, well, this race, someone went up from I think like 10th to I think 6th or 5th in the space of two laps, and like went up a place on the like final corner. So I was on the edge of my seat screaming at the
more
TV.
exciting. That's more of a text than you get in a season normally.
Yeah, but that's not guaranteed for every race.
That's very true.
So in terms of superbikes, how come you're into that then?
What it is my dad's really into bikes. When I grew up, my dad's had a sports bike. He had a naked bike. He's had a trials bike and everything else. But when we sort of expanded the family, I think we started going camping and bought a caravan about 10, 12 years ago. We didn't have the space or the money for everything else, so the bike had to go. But for years and years, he's been taking me to bike racing. Like we've been and watched it at Brands Hatch and Cadwell and Thruxton and everything else. So I've kind of had this connection with it. And from the first time I went there, you get involved, you hear and see it up close, and you can walk through the pits and see them all being worked on, and the sounds and the smells, and you get the whole atmosphere. And from the age of about 12 or 13, I was like, I have to do this. I've just got to get a bike one day. It's got to happen. And I didn't, because like most people, I went and got a car, and I couldn't afford both at the time because, working in fast food is not very well paid. But yeah, when I was at the point I could afford both, well, again, a few years back on my channel, I bought a little Yamaha 125, and we still go and watch the racing now. I think it's more sort of, the problem I've got with Formula One is it's very sort of pretentious, and it's kind of, you pay 70, 80 quid to get in, and you can only see everything at, well, social distance kind of length, and the drivers are all treated like celebrities, and I never really connected with it.
70, 80 quid for tickets? What cheap site are you getting them from?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, exactly. Whereas it's like a 3-day ticket for British Superbike, including camping there, is like 90 quid or something. It's a ridiculously good weekend. But
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I went to Brands to watch the W Series in DTM last year, actually, in August. It was brilliant. All the W Series cars were in tents in one of the side lots. The DTM cars, you could do the pit walk and go and see them in the pits.
Exactly. There's a thing in British Superbike they do, particularly at Brands Hatch, where you sort of cross over onto the track and there's all the pits there, where you could literally walk along to each and every driver and get a photo with them and shake their hand and sign a picture and everything else. And I did make this point of, like, in Formula One, you'll be lucky to catch a glimpse of Lewis Hamilton just walking out of his pit garage, and like that's a big deal, and that makes your day. And I can't be doing.
Or you've paid a serious amount of money to get a pit pass.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds really pretentious. I don't think anyone who's paying more for a ticket should get a better experience. At the end of the day, you're there to watch the racing. So, yeah.
I see that side of it. But for my side, they're driving cars that it's pretty much like a fighter jet, but stuck to the ground, and the skill to do that is incredible.
There is an appeal.
It's a different level.
And I think it is picking up and getting a bit more exciting, because there's more. I mean, I'm sort of fairly big on car Twitter. I'm not big on car Twitter at all, but I sort of follow a lot of car stuff on Twitter. And Formula One talk has picked up more in the last year or two. Like, it's become more exciting again. So maybe we're getting back to the heyday gradually. But
yeah, maybe. I think it's a lot of the new drivers, and a lot of the new ones are British as well. You've got Lando Norris, George Russell, that have come up the ranks, and they're exciting prospects. So everyone in this country is kind of egging on the Brit in some sort of sport, and they're doing well in Formula One.
I'd agree, definitely. I mean, I just finished reading Jason Plato's autobiography, funnily enough, and he talks about his sort of brushes with Formula One, how there is that kind of real atmosphere in it, and I get that. And again, being involved, you probably feel it more than as a spectator. But yeah, I think Formula One might be coming back to something that's actually worth being involved with and worth watching. after a few years off. But
Oh, we lost your audio there for a
oh,
second.
we dropped out again.
Yeah, there we go. It's
Oh,
back
there we go. Should have upgraded from dial-up. Sorry about that.
now. It's all right. Yeah. So yeah, you said you got your little 125 Yamaha. How was that
Yeah.
when you got onto that? What was the process of getting
So,
onto a bike then the first
getting on a
time?
125 is, particularly when you've already got a car license, is really easy. So you literally do a day of training called a CBT, compulsory basic training, which basically teaches you how to get on a bike, not drop it, change gear, then you slalom between a few cones, go out on the road for 20 minutes, and that's it. It's not even really a pass fail. It's just a kind of, we've got to tell you this now. We've told you this, you're good. You have to do a theory, which if you've done a car theory, same thing. Just there's more slanted towards the bike stuff. So, how would you check that your chain's in good condition, and what would you do if this locks up? And so, but broadly the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's about the size of it. And then you can ride a 125 with no passengers with an L plate on, which I did for about a year. And then I've recently gone on to what's called the A2 test, where you can ride up to, I think it's 47 horsepower or something, which is about 500. And I've bought a Kawasaki ER5 500, which I've still got at the moment. So that's quite a lot more complicated. There's a bit more expense involved. There's a couple of exams you have to do and a couple of courses and things like that. It's a bit more complex. And anyone who's into cars will go, why would you go through all that 3 times? And why is it so expensive? If you haven't tried it, try it, because it's genuinely, it's different to any car I've ever driven. I've driven some quite interesting stuff, but there's nothing quite like a bike. And I'm lucky enough that I can have both. But yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, and I absolutely love bikes. Anytime they're on the road or even the racing, if they're around, it's the sound is
Yeah.
amazing. Like if there's a bike and I can see it coming up, let it go, and it
Yeah,
just scoots
exactly.
past, and I enjoy the sound. I
You're one of the
enjoy.
better car drivers then. I got asked by someone who was watching one of my bike videos and said, oh, what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out on the bike? And I said, act like no one can see you and no one can hear you, because they usually can't. Because they're either just like most SUV drivers, they're just totally blinkered, not looking at anything,
Yeah,
or they're on their phone, or they're texting, or they're looking at that. And that is what I would think most biking accidents probably don't come from the fault of the biker. There's probably a statistic that proves me wrong there, but I think there would be fewer bike accidents if car drivers were more considerate.
oh
But
yeah, 100%.
then we get into the whole debate there of
That's
who's
that's
doing
the
it
main
wrong.
reason why I don't want to get on a bike on a public road. Not because I think I'll drop it, or I love to go fast. I probably will go fast on a bike, but
Yeah,
it's someone else, and that's
exactly.
what's stopping me. I want to learn how to ride a bike to a proficient level. So at some point when I can, I might do it, on the dirt, do some trial biking, that kind of stuff,
Exactly.
just to get a handle on it. But I mean, there's a lot of people that argue and say, oh, the motorbike, say they're lane splitting. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, they can fit.
Why would you not? Exactly. And there is that the thing I've got with bikes is it's like you've got to know when to say enough is enough, is because my Kawasaki is a 500 47 horsepower, and it's sort of 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds, which is that's quicker than most cars on the road, but in bike terms that's quite slow.
Yeah,
So a modern 600 would do it in about a mid 3. And you say, oh, why don't people are saying to me, you're going to get a bigger license and get a 600 or an 800 or 1,000, and get something massive. I think, well, you're only adding more and more and more power that you're not going to be able to use. And the reality is I've still got something that's fast enough to scare me on occasion,
yeah,
but that's not totally unusable. And at the end of the day, I don't think it owes me £1,000. It's still a cheap bit of fun for what it is.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think as you progress into the more powerful stuff, you've got to learn the more of it, but then you have to learn the control of it. Whereas
Yeah.
at least if you go through the stages and stick with one for a long enough time till you're really comfortable with it, then okay, it might step out here. This is what could happen in this situation. You go to a more powerful one, it transfers. But if you just jump
There
really
is that whole thing of learning how to use it. I mean, in the bike world, you have to, by the law, and you have to start at 125 and then progress up, and then by the bureaucracy of it. Whereas you'll appreciate in the car world, it's more kind of, it's not that you can't go and buy something really powerful; it's that you then can't afford it to insure it. Certainly if you live in the UK, I mean, in the US, it's quite customary for a college student's first car to be a WRX or a V8 Mustang and something like that, whereas
yeah.
the average first car for us is a 1 litre Micra. And it's not quite the same, but then the Americans' bike permits are different. So, we can go into that debate all day long. But yeah, you have to level up in both ways, and I think. But I'm at the point now where I can start to afford to insure some fairly fast cars. So that opens up a whole another opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And when I was looking into bikes and getting into them, one YouTube channel that I found really helpful for it was Nut and Fancy, where they
Yes,
did,
yeah,
yeah, and that's where I got a lot of. I think I've always been more cautious of people on bikes and motorbikes when I'm driving. It's my whole, my dad taught me you want to keep an open eye like on stuff that's like 5 cars ahead of you or 10 cars
yeah,
ahead of you. You should already know what's happening in front of you, and
exactly.
especially with bikes, always do a double look. So whenever I see a bike in my wing mirror, if I'm in traffic, I'll pull over to the side so they can cut through. And
Exactly. It's about being attentive. And again, any good car driver should be paying enough attention. But I mean, you'll probably notice this like with your Z3. Like if you're in a convertible car, you'll look for other convertibles with the roof down. And if they haven't, why haven't you got the roof down? It's the same on a bike. Naturally, you'll look for other bikers, even if you're not on a bike, because you think, if I were in that situation, I'd want someone to move out of my way, and I'd want them to let me out, and everything. And again, you do find occasionally where if you've got someone who's lane splitting to come past, and you move out of the way, the biker will just stick their left hand up, just to, And again, I think that's more something that bikers who also drive do, but it's a road courtesy thing. There's some and some, and I'm not going to pretend there aren't some proper dickhead bikers out there, because there are. Um, I like
they
to think
exist
I'm not.
everywhere.
There we go.
Yeah. So have you? What are your plans for biking? Is it just road use or?
Just road use. I mean, I'd like to get something off-roady and traily at some point. Although my only worry with that is because my dad was into that a few years back, and he said the trouble is you need to go as a group when you do that, because if you go on your own and you fall off and hurt yourself, you're screwed, because no one's there to help you. You can't call an ambulance or anything. Which is the number one issue. And the other issue with that is exactly that, is there is that risk of hurting yourself, which again, if you're in a big rut and the bike goes up and wheelies and falls on you, that could kill you. And
Yeah.
there is that risk with it. The track stuff, I'm not sure, because from what I've sort of gathered, on most bike track days, you get people who've bought the cheapest, crappiest 600 they possibly can. They get on track and they think they're Valentino Rossi, and they're not. And it puts them at risk, it puts other people at risk, and it's not really something I'm into. So who knows? I'd be more interested in taking a car out on track, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Talking about cars, let's talk about your little yellow nugget,
Absolutely,
the
yes.
Super Sciento. How did that come about? How did you get that car?
So it's a really long story. How long have you got? But I think it's all against. When we're all 17, we're all looking for something, just anything you can afford to buy and insure. And the trouble is, I wasn't earning very much because I was in not sponsored McDonald's at the time, and I wasn't earning anything worth a damn. But it was all I could get. And even a lot of the typical stuff like Clios and Fiestas was still they were still knocking on for £2,000 on the insurance, and I just couldn't justify that. So, and at 17, you have to beat the insurance companies at their own game. What 17-year-olds aren't driving. So I was looking at stuff like Perodua Kalisa and Skoda Fabia Mark 1, just right, because no 17-year-old would have one, which
Yeah.
means the insurance would be quite cheap. But then you've got the whole, I can't afford to buy one because I don't earn much or everything like that. And then I saw a little Seicento sporting parked just around the corner from where I live. One of my neighbours had just got one. And it looks like a little hot hatchy thing, bright yellow, big body kit, spoiler, all that kind of thing. So I thought, it's got to be some 2-litre hot hatch that I can't afford to insure. And I looked up and it was only a 1.1, and it isn't actually any more powerful than the normal version. It's pretty much just cosmetic. So I started looking into it, and the insurance was really reasonable. I did have a black box because you can't not these days.
Yeah.
And so the insurance was decent, the cars weren't too expensive, and they were cheap to buy, they were cheap to run. I thought this could work. So I sort of spoke to my parents and said, I'm not really earning enough, but could you sort of combine a bit of birthday and Christmas for me and lend me a bit of money and help me out? So we came to a bit of an agreement on that, and I ended up with a Seicento as my first car, a little O2 Sporting in Brum Yellow, which is the only colour you can have them in. And I absolutely loved it because I spent a lot of my time learning to drive in it, because my driving instructor didn't actually have a manual car. So I'd go and learn in my own car as well, which is, again, it's a great way to get to know it.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking my test in it as well, which helps. So I passed my test on that. And then it all sort of went from there. As soon as I was on the road, you do what you do. You go, oh, right, so now I'm going to modify it because now I can. And it was started with little basic things. So, you paint the wheels. And I think I put a vinyl bonnet stripe on, and we did a remote central locking key fob thing and little lowering springs and all the rest of it. And it all sort of progressed from there. and I gradually found on Facebook and stuff that there is a bit of a modifying scene for them. It's not enormous compared to a Fiesta scene, because that is huge. But there's enough people that can advise you on what parts fit and what wheels work, and you can take these bits off of other cars and put those on. And it all sort of grew from there. Before I knew where I was, the car had it had an engine change out. I had coilovers on it. I had brakes off a Punto GT Turbo, custom exhaust. I had seats that have a WRX in it. Yeah, it progressed quite a lot from there, really. So it was fairly typical first car story of I've got it, I'm going to modify it, and then checked and I couldn't afford the insurance to modify it. So yeah, we've all been there. But yeah, and the thing that struck me with this, because it's so small and light. I mean, I think it's something like a quarter of a ton less than a Lupo weight wise, which for something like that is massive. So it feels a lot quicker than it is. Even it's only like 54 horsepower. But I thought, well, I could sell it and get something faster. But I love how much fun it is, and I thought, what could you really replace it with? What would deliver that? I mean, everyone goes, "Oh, get a mini, get a mini." Yeah, but the equivalent mini would be $4 or $5 and
Yeah.
that's not really. I don't have that kind of money, or so I didn't at the time. And it's at the point now where I'm like most people, I'm more money into it than it will ever be worth. So I'm sticking with it. Why not? I love it. I mean, I'll buy other cars, and I have bought other cars, but it just means enough to me with the story I've got with it that it's still here and it always will be.
Yeah, it's amazing what you've done to it. I mean, a lot of people will look at it and say, why have you spent all that money and all that time on a box car
Yeah.
that isn't going to do anything? But I guess you've learned a lot from working on it
Yeah.
and tying it into YouTube as well. So how did you? Because I look back on your channel and it seemed it wasn't always about cars.
No, it wasn't. So I started doing it when I was in college, because I did a media course at college, and basically they said to us, have some sort of outlet, whether that means you write a blog or you present a radio show or you do a YouTube channel, just do something to get yourself out there. And I'd already sort of dabbled with YouTube a tiny little bit when I was 12 or 13, but it was nothing worth
I
it.
think everyone has at this point.
Exactly. We've all been there. Little crappy iPhone footage where they filmed it vertically like that. But I started, and I didn't really have anything to do, because at that point I hadn't passed my test or anything, so I couldn't make the kind of videos I was watching, which was car stuff. So it was just videos about me ranting about the world, basically, just oh, why do we have all these stupid little idiosyncrasies when we go on holiday, of packing far too much and thinking that every country in the world should speak English and things like that. And gradually, and then when I passed my test, I thought, okay, so I can start doing car videos. And before too long, whereas the normal videos were sort of around 50 or 100 views, the car videos were sort of up into the hundreds and then up into the thousands. And I thought, so more people are watching them, I prefer doing them, and there is this sort of gap where no one's really doing videos on these cars. So I thought, well, why would I waste my time? Why not make the kind of content you watch is the kind of way I've taken it. So about 18 months in, I sort of went, no, right, okay, entirely car stuff now. And then I started going to shows and things like that. And yeah, it's been a bit of an evolution, but I've sort of kept learning about the video making in general. I hope anyone can see the production values improved. Cameras are improved and things like that. So yeah, it started out more as an experiment and grew to something full time, to the extent that I'm doing a video at least one a week now. So yeah, it's been a bit of a passion project, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'm, as you know from the This Week on Cars, I'm wildly inconsistent with certain things, and YouTube being one of them, which is why I've kind of dabbled into podcasting, because it's okay, invite someone who wants to be on the show, at least come on,
Yeah,
and editing's quite easy to do, and I've got a lot of content I can share out.
this is it. It's a really good idea for
Yeah.
content, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm sort of annoyed that I didn't come up with it first. But
It's a lot easier than, okay, I've got my car, I can do one modification a month, but I need to do like a video a week.
yeah,
That's not going to work. So
yeah, exactly. And it does reach the point where you're sort of grappling for things to do, where I think I had one week where there's like I was still waiting on part here, but the YouTube is that you have to keep a regular video going up, so I had to do something. So I think I just went out and did a video ranting about, oh, here's 5 reasons why driving in the UK sucks, and things like that. And it's just to fill a gap, just to keep it. And there are weeks, I'll be completely transparent, where if you're trying to maintain a channel with a weekly video, you might put out a video more that you feel you should than you want to. And looking back, I have done that. But at the end of the day, if you still put the effort into making it, it can still be a good video. And ultimately, if someone watches it and enjoys it, that's what's important, and people did, and people have, I hope. So
Yeah.
can't complain really.
No, no, you can't complain at all. It's. I think. Do you think having the college media background has helped you in scheduling stuff, filming it, or knowing how to go through the process of it?
I think it has a bit. I mean, it's more sort of. I didn't. The weird thing was, I spent a lot of my early teenage years in local radio, and so I thought, okay, right, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do in my life. So most of my college stuff, I focused more on the radio stuff. So I did. I recorded a podcast actually, and I did a little interviews with people, and we made little radio drama stories and things like that. So I didn't do too much on the video stuff, but the odd bit I did do, I I retained that bit of information about. Lens focusing, and about how to work out your sound, and about where to position your camera, that you can track things and things like that. And little things I'd pick up, and but a lot of what I do, as sort of pretentious as it sounds, is self-taught. In that, I think I bought Sony Vegas to edit my videos on, and I still do use it now. And I opened it up, and none of it made any sense,
Oh
because
yeah, I remember that feeling.
and you just look at it and go, my God, I'm in over my head here. But you Google the tutorials, and at the end of the day, you record a silly little clip to try it with, and you play around, and eventually you're making something where you can do slow motion and stabilize it and change the cropping, and ultimately you learn. And I'm still learning now. I still learn things now. But unfortunately enough, I do it for a living now, so I'm kind of learning on the job, as it were.
Yeah, no, I remember jumping into that. I think I was using the GoPro Studio, and
Mm,
then it came up as a sale on Humble Bundle. So I was like, oh yes, I can pay £20 or something to get it.
yeah,
I got it, and it was so much better, wildly better than the GoPro Studio.
yeah.
And yeah, it is just a case of, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? Google it, YouTube it, try it out a few times. And then recently I made the switch to Adobe Premiere, and it's
Oh yeah,
purely because my work's got a license for it, so I can do it on my work laptop.
yeah.
Um,
Why not?
yeah, and I'm still at the level where I think I could find out how to do stuff quicker on Sony Vegas, like all the shortcuts I know how to do a lot better. So I think,
I've done so much time with it, and my hands naturally go into the position for all the hotkeys.
yeah,
It's yeah, first thing I do when I get a laptop. But yeah, like you say, you kind of feel your way through it. So I've recently started doing color matching clips, where you've filmed the same thing with two different cameras, but one is showing it more sort of bluer and one showing it more orange. So you match the two together and make it so it's more consistent. And it's that kind of thing that takes the time, but it makes it a better finished product.
yeah. I went through that. I had no idea how to do it, and I was just going by eye. And then it was with the Z Cars races that I
Mm,
was filming. I was trying to color match those, and then I realized that I have a blue light filter on my laptop. So after a certain time of day, it goes orange. So
yeah,
everything turned out very wrong.
everything was actually completely wrong.
So I had to redo it, and that took the most time. It was
Yeah.
I mean, cutting the clips is time consuming, but it's quite easy. Lining up the audio was neither here nor there, but it's the color matching that it makes a world of difference, but it
Oh
takes
yeah.
longest time.
The thing I think I sort of said with video editing is, if you're involved in it, is good editing is invisible. Like, people will notice if something's not right, like if the audio is not synced up, or if the quality's not quite there, or the color doesn't match. But if it's good editing, people won't notice. It should be an underlying thing. But also, if you do edit your own things, obviously you do, I do, and anyone who does YouTube does, you'll start watching TV and movies and notice how they've done things.
Yeah,
So there was one point where I was watching, I forget, it was a TV show the other day, and they had two people having a conversation, and halfway through the conversation, there was just a shot of their hands on the table or something, and it was totally unrelated. I thought, they've covered up where they've cut a clip there, and that's how they've covered up. They've covered it where they've cut it, and you do start to learn these things. So it's always a learning experience, I think.
yeah. I went to see the movie 1918. Is it 1918? 1917?
1914. I know the one you mean, the war
Yeah,
one.
the one that's filmed in one shot.
Yeah.
And I think I was looking at it too much because it kind of ruined it. I was like, yeah, there's a cut. There's a
Yeah.
cut.
It just starts to ruin it. It really, because you end up picking things apart.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And I think one of the things that because I didn't have like a gimbal or anything, I was borrowing a DSLR from a friend who was very graciously just let me have it for like a year while I was filming the Z Cars races. And that was all. It was quite shaky footage. and yeah, I learned, okay, zoom out to allow
Yeah.
the software to crop in, and then just actually track it in post. But then I'd watch it and I'd still be like, oh, it's shaking there. Every time I'd watch something of mine, I'd say, okay, there's a mistake there, there's a mistake there, there's a mistake there. But then I'd go and
Yeah.
watch something like Gears and Gasoline, which is what
Mm.
I set out to want to be. That was my standard. If
Those guys are
close to that
amazing.
as possible. Like, there's no way with a DSLR or like my editing skills I could get there now or back then. But that's where I wanted to at least
It's always good to have something to
get
aspire
to.
to, I think. So I
Yeah.
sort of, the one I always look at was back when I used to be really into the supercar YouTubers. So the supercars, exactly, supercars of London and all that kind of thing. But I always used to watch, I don't know if you've seen any of what Seen Through Glass does. And 99% of what he does is completely on his own. He doesn't have a film crew. He doesn't have any assistants, anything like that. And I watch some of his stuff, and for the fact it's produced on his own is amazing. And mate, I mean, he's got quality kit. He always puts in the description what kit he's got, and he's getting on for 10 grand's worth of kit he uses. But the quality of the stuff he's producing is incredible, and that's kind of the level I aspire to be. And like you say, if you, because no one's going to look at a TV production and go, oh, I'm going to be as good as this $10 million TV production. Well, that's never going
Yeah.
to happen.
It's not
But
going to be a Grand Tour car intro.
exactly. But however much we try, but it's always good to have something to aspire to. And that's the way I kind of look at it with YouTube and with producing your own media in general, is there's always someone who is doing it better than you and has more subscribers than you and knows something you don't, and you're always learning, and that's no bad thing at all.
Yeah, no. And going back, I'd watch some Gears and Gasoline's videos, and I'd say, "Oh, there's a little bit of camera shake there," and "Oh,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of," and I go, "Okay, it's okay for me to not be at
Yeah.
that level.
Everyone makes
Even
mistakes,
they're
exactly.
not like studio silky smooth." And I love the content, and I aspire to be this good. And that kind of it gives you a little bit of, I guess, hope. Like
Yeah, I
you
think
always
it's
want to do the best you can, and you want it to be good instantly, but
mm,
that's never going to happen. So when you see the
not
people right at the top, it not being perfect, it's like, okay, we can all make mistakes. There's always something to improve, and even if you've
definitely.
got that level,
I
uh,
look at stuff I was doing sort of 2 or 3 years ago, and at the time I was like, okay, this is really good. I'm genuinely good at editing. I watch it back now and go, mate, it's all shaky and nothing matches, and the sound's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
That's a poor. It looks like a year, like a year eight. Oh, look, here's what I did on my summer holiday production. I'm not going to pretend I'm up to Gears and Gasoline style level now, but I'm certainly a lot better than I was. And again, in fairness, the fact I do it for a living now means that I'm doing it week in, week out. And even just in the time I've done this job, which is just over a year now, I've improved in that period. So yeah, you're always getting better.
yeah. So yeah, so let's talk about your job. I kind of have an idea about what you do, but I'm not going to embarrass myself and try to say what it is. So,
No, no, it's fine. You're
what is
not
it that
stalking me too
you
much then.
what is it that you do?
So I work for Kelsey Media, who primarily publish magazines of all sorts, so fishing stuff and fashion stuff and dieting stuff and car stuff. And I emailed. I think I spoke to. I don't know if you've heard of Hubnut at all, the YouTuber, and he does a
Rings a
bit of.
bell.
He writes for magazines, or he did at the time, and I thought he's into cars and he writes for car magazines, so he must have started somewhere. So I emailed him and said, how did you get involved with it? And he said, well, send off your CV and anything you've written to Phil Whedon, who was the CEO of Kelsey at the time. He said, see what he might offer you something. He gave me a big break, see what he does. So I sent him an email. I wrote a couple of articles just based on the experiences I had and cars I've driven and blah, 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 blah. And he came back and said, really like what you've done. Do you want to come and spend a week with us and do a bit of work experience? Just shadow the team, write a couple of articles, take some photos, brilliant. Why not? So I did that, spent a week with them, and for someone who's never done that before, it was amazing because this suddenly the car park's not just financed crap. It's all oh wow, there's a Saab 900 Turbo, and there's an MX-5, and there's an old Discovery and an old Rover, and all these things that you've never seen.
Yeah.
And I took loads of photos, and we got a few things. I actually got things I wrote into print, which was amazing at the time. And I kind of thought that it would get to the end of the week, and that would be that. I'd just stick it on my CV. It's still a cool thing to have done. And I got a phone call from a chap called Paul, who's the editor on Classic Car Buyer, one of Kelsey's magazines. It was in sort of about 6 or 7 weeks later. It was about 10 o'clock at night, if I remember correctly. And he basically said, we're having a bit of a restructure. We've got someone who's quit, so we're changing roles on the magazines and in the office. We're also looking to branch out into video. Now, we see that you do your own YouTube thing. Would you be interested team as a writer on Classic Car Buyer and as head of video for our sort of classics section for YouTube. Yes, I would. So it all happened a bit quickly. I think I sort of vaguely documented it on my channel that I upped all my stuff, moved out of home, moved 3 hours up country, and I think I started my job on June the 1st, and on June the 2nd we were off on a road trip to Land's End, and I was filming the whole thing, and we wrote about it, and photographed it, and yeah, it's all sort of spiraled upwards from there. So, Classics World is the channel that I do for a living, and we do mostly classic car reviews that we borrow from dealers or that we own ourselves or we buy or whatever. And we've branched off into now doing project cars. So we've bought a few cheap classic projects that we're fixing things on, and here's what's broken this week and that sort of thing. And it's sort of branched out from there. And because I work for Kelsey as well, they've got me on Fast Car, which is all the kind of, I've probably got a magazine here. Yeah, onto all the modified stuff. So
Not sponsored, but if you think about it, yeah, wouldn't
yeah,
mind it.
so I've ended up doing all the video stuff for them as well. So we've got a regular chat show that we're doing. There's new performance car reviews. So we did one on the Alpha Giulia Quadrifoglio that I reviewed. Or I didn't review it, sorry, I filmed it. We did one on like an 800 horsepower supercharged Mustang and all that kind of thing. And we've got a lot of stuff planned. So we've got some road trips coming up. We've got some classic cars that we're going to get to film. We've got some that we're buying and things like that. So, and I'm doing a bit of writing as well. It's amazing. If you're into cars, and particularly if you're into old weird cars, which I am,
Yeah.
getting to film about them, and I even present a few of the videos as well, and drive them and talk about them and write about them for a job and work with car people is amazing, and I love it.
Yeah, I can imagine going from just starting with your car, starting a YouTube channel, and then a couple of years later, that's your job. You're on your way, really.
I think the one that the time by the thing that really told me that, oh my God, this is my life, was, I think, because before I joined Kelsey, I worked for an insurance company. And I was just, in the, oh, hello, sir, how can I help you change your policy today? Oh, that's an increased premium. Oh, you don't want to renew with us? Oh, sorry about that, click, and that kind of thing. And then I think we did a photo shoot with, for Classic Car Buyer, we got together an MGA and an Alfa Romeo Giulietta Spider, which is one of my all-time dream cars. Incredible. And we got the two cars together, and we got a professional photographer in, and he was taking photos, and we were driving the cars past the camera for shots. And I sort of paused for a minute when I turned the car around to do another shot and went, holy crap, this is my job. Like this, I was answering calls from customers like 6 months ago. This is my job now. And it's still sinking in that occasionally I do things and think, this is it. If you told Joe of 5 years ago, this is where you're going to be, you'll have to work at McDonald's first, but this is where you're going to be. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. And do you sometimes have to pinch yourself and think, like, this is where like Clarkson and Chris Harris started?
Yeah, exactly.
And is that the kind of path that you'd like to go on?
To be honest, it sounds really weird, but I was thinking about it because one of my colleagues who's been in the job for a long time, we're actual mates now, like we meet up outside of work and stuff, and he said, where do you see your career going long term? Just making conversation. And I said, honestly, I don't know, because why would I ever want to do anything other than this? But equally, there is that bit of me that goes, maybe be an editor one day, maybe do something, because like my editor, again, Paul, the guy who called me, he's been in the job for 30 years and he's been editor of Fast Forward and Performance BMW and Classic Car Mart and Classic Car Buyer and Weekly, and he's been and he's got so many stories to tell, and but he's been in it 30 times longer than I have. Yeah. So there is definitely, we'll see what happens. The video stuff is a certain, touch wood, but yeah, we'll see where the writing stuff goes. But for now, just the idea of, I got an email confirmed last week. There's a road trip coming that we're going to be doing a video on, or multiple videos on, in August, and I can't say anything more than that because I'm under lock and key at the moment. But the cars are some proper. If you like 90s stuff, you will love what we're doing. So, and it's proper legendary stuff in the 90s, but I can't say anything more than that because I'm genuinely sworn to oath.
Okay, that's fine. We won't press on that, but I can, imagination's running absolutely wild as to what it's going to be.
Amazing. But again, it's that kind of, oh my God, 18 months ago it was, hello sir, how can I help you renew your policy today? And now it's, can you go around that corner a bit faster so we can get you on an opposite lock? And that, and transition is amazing.
Yeah, that must be, yeah, I don't know, it's crazy how life changes.
Yeah.
and especially from this, like for me, it was I had another channel where I was filming on a GoPro, and it wasn't great quality. And I thought, right, I think it was 2019. Okay, let's do this properly.
Start
And that's when I
fresh.
did the race filming, refilmed all my here's my BMW Z3.
Yeah.
I did that again, and thinking that, well, in 2018, I didn't think I'd be driving a race car around Bedford the next year,
Yeah.
or going to racetracks and being paid to do it,
Exactly.
to film cars and edit it. It's like this is amazing. I love this.
It's crazy, and it's insane how life changes. I mean, it's easy, without wishing to sound like a cat poster, it's easy to get stuck in the really dull crap where, again, it would have been 4 years ago now. I was at McDonald's and I was working in the kitchen, and it was a hot day and I was stacked out with orders and earning barely minimum wage, and with management who couldn't care less about you, because if you don't toe to the line, they've got a million other people that want a crappy job, so they'll throw you away. And it was getting hot and busy and everything else. And I just thought, how is this my life? I can't bear that this is all I can do. And you see people who've been there for years, and you can see how done they are with life. And I
Yeah,
just thought, I have to do something more than this. And now where we are now, and again, the same with yourself, it's you can't predict what life is going to throw at you, good or bad. So
yeah. No,
yeah,
I'm quite lucky that the job I have, I really enjoy. It's quite an intense job, so I like that, and it's got a lot of room for growth and learning. And
yeah,
we have our own like media team, so I'm learning a lot from them about editing and stuff like that. So it's a great opportunity. And the bosses are okay with me going off on the weekend, taking a
yeah.
holiday on Monday or Friday, so I have an extra day to
Good
recover
man.
from filming.
It's always good, I think, where if you're doing something, you'll probably appreciate, if you're doing something you enjoy, you're more inclined to do it. So particularly
Oh yeah,
now, because all our whole company, we were told to work from home, and now that they've worked out we all can work from home, they've shut the office down. So they've said, right, from now on, you're permanently working from home, even when all the COVID stuff is done. So I've got my laptop home, I've got all my video editing stuff, all my cameras, all that kind of thing, and I've got one of our classic project cars here, and so I can go and film stuff. And I've never ever done a job before where I've put myself out because I love it so much. I mean, before I was on this call with you now, I was answering some emails to my boss. I was like, "It's the weekend. I genuinely don't. I'm technically on holiday this week. I've booked a holiday. I genuinely don't need to be working, but I just am." And yeah, like you say, if you've got a job you love, you're more inclined to do well.
yeah. And I remember when I started, I was staying late to figure out what I needed to do to get ahead, to just to learn the job a bit more. And yeah, just doing like extra things, and it was no skin off my back. I enjoyed it. It was something
Yeah.
that there's if I I want to learn, it's just part of the job. I don't really care that I'm staying another 3 hours, whatever. I'll order takeaway and
It's
get it
investing
done.
time in yourself. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I've been yeah, our office is closed down as well, so we're all working from home, and it is really cool, but I think I miss being in the office. It's a social
Yeah.
setting. It's a different place to being at home. Home is just relax, play video games, watch
Yeah.
YouTube, film
It,
cars.
it is hard to keep
Offices,
yourself sort of professional. I know what you mean. And
yeah.
there is that whole thing of I do kind of miss the office environment of, you know, oh, we're at a lunch. Oh, which car should we take? And let's go film this. And oh, someone's car's leaked oil. I'll have a quick take the piss out
Okay,
of them.
yeah. You don't need to rub in your office experience.
Sorry about that.
Mine's a central London. Oh, takeaway is really expensive. Food is really expensive.
Don't worry. I think one of the first weeks in the job, I think I was just told, oh, by the way, we had an old Audi 80 project car where the cam belt had snapped on it. So it was totally worthless and didn't move and didn't start. So, Joe, can you go out and push that old Audi across the car park for the? All right, okay. And this car had no power steering, and the tires were all dry rotted to hell, so it barely moved. And I thought, oh yeah, the glamours of the job here, pushing some knackered old Audi across the car park. Yeah. Um, so yeah, rough with the smooth, even in a job like mine. But yeah, there is that I'm kind of missing the office work. I know what you mean. In so much as the interacting with people and just the random chats over the office of, oh, would you have this or this? Oh, I'd have this. Oh no, you wouldn't. You'd have this. And oh, Chris Harris rated that better and everything else. And oh, let's watch this video and find out and things like. And yeah, but I know what you mean. It's hard to stay professional at home.
With all these Zoom calls and stuff, it was quite fun. I have to text my roommate. It's like, hey, I've got a call between this time and this time. So like,
Don't burst in. Yeah,
because if I'm at my desk, we've got like a dining table. It faces the door to come in.
Yeah.
So like if they come in, they just have to like slide in, grab coffee, whatever, slide
Sorry.
out really
Sorry.
quick.
I think we had one moment because we have sort of weekly calls between the editorial team just to keep up. And my dog had just come downstairs. So it was early in the morning. Dog had just come downstairs, woken up. And the dog was sort of down just beneath the table, wanting his ear tickled or whatever. So I'm sort of leaning down like this. And someone just went, "Is there a dog there?" Yes, there is. Sorry.
See, that's when you say, yes, sorry, I'll pick it up and show everyone, because everyone wants
Yeah.
to see dogs on Zoom
And
calls.
suddenly, and it's all okay. As long as you show them. Exactly.
Yeah. I think with work calls, we're a bit more chilled out. It's not so like professional. I say that because I was in the hammock. We've got a balcony bit in the flat, so we have a hammock on it. So in one of our weekly calls, I was just out in the hammock in the sun, and they're like, "Yeah, you know what you're living the life right now, aren't you?" Like, yeah.
we had one time we were doing a call, and our COO, he's got 2 young kids, like one's 4 and one's 7, and halfway through the phone call, because he's got you can see his door in the shot, like with me now. And you just saw the door open, and his daughters came in. "Daddy, can you make me a milkshake?" I'm like, "Right, we'll get to the business call in a minute." For 2 minutes, we're all sitting there going, "So, what you watching telly last night?" Just to make the call go any further. But everyone's learning it, and I'm sure there's pros and cons to working at home, as there always are. I'm sure you've again realised that as much as I have.
Yeah. I think people who get angry at kids or pets walking in, it's
live in the real world a bit.
Yeah.
These things happen. Yeah.
Yeah, just got to be a bit lenient. You're going to get to the business talk at some point. Let it go.
The company's still here. It's
Yeah.
And if anything, it almost makes everyone work a bit harder, because if you are you've got a deadline to do for something, and all of a sudden, you do go and spend half an hour on YouTube, and you're scrolling through Facebook, and you think, "Oh crap, I've lost some time." And if anything, it makes you work harder. So that's how I justified it to my boss, anyway.
Yeah, no, sometimes I get into a really good flow where I just smash work for a couple of days, and then like the next day I'm just floating around a little bit, but then I'll get back into it and get into a really good flow again. So it's just kind of learning when I'm floating, like, oh, okay, I'm floating, I need to get back into it.
I think I've got into the habit of doing a little list of what I've done. Like, here's what I need to do today. Have I actually done all that? But there was one point where for several days I was totally caught up on video stuff. There was nothing due for weeks, nothing I had to write, nothing I had to edit, nothing I had to film. So I spent a day or two working on my Alpha, just fixing things in the Alpha. And I looked up and went, "Oh, it's lunchtime. Well, I haven't really done any work, have I?" But yeah, it was probably more work to fix the Alpha than it was to do the work at that point.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Alpha. So you had the GTV.
I did, yeah.
2.5.
So I bought an Alpha GTV Twin Spark, which I actually bought off my company, because we bought it for like a cheap car challenge, the same one that knackered Audi was in, actually, just over a year ago. And it was around the time I did my work experience when that car came in, and I walked up and said, "Oh, wow, that's an Alpha GTV," because I'm really into Italian stuff. And even this was a bit of a down at heel one. It was still, wow, it's a GTV, because you don't see them. And about 6 months ago, we moved on most of our project costs so we could go and buy new ones. And the Alpha was up for sale, and I thought, well, I've always wanted a GTV, and I can afford to insure one now, because I'm sort of 3-4 years no claims. And this is a known car. I know it's not a rusty pile of crap, and because it's a magazine feature car, everything we do on it we can write about. So it's had no expense spared. If it needed new calipers, it had them. If it needed wheel bearings, it had them. If it needed an exhaust, it had it. It's had everything thrown at it. So I thought, the company just wants it out of the way for what they paid for it, so I'll have that. Bought it, did some videos on fixing it, and yeah, it's true what they say about Alpha ownership not being easy. I'll put it that way. It's a challenging car to work on. It's often where, we've only got to take 2 bolts out, but you've got. So I think the best example I found was taking the door mirror off.
Yeah.
On my Seicento, it's 3 Phillips head bolts. Pull it out, you're done. On the Alpha, you've got 2 Allen-headed bolts holding your cover plate on, so you take that off, and then you unplug the wiring, and then you got bolt there, bolt there, bolt there in sort of triangle shape. I can undo that one with an Allen key. I can undo that one with a ratchet. I can't get to that one because there's a little crevice in the door. Right, okay, so go take the entire door card off. So we're going to unbolt this, pull that. You know where you are, taking the mirror off. It's taken 2 hours. And and then it's starting to rain now. Oh, God, right, mirror back on then. So, and yeah, everything on it. It's like the initial job is simple, but it's the 14 other jobs you've got to do to get And I think like I changed the boot struts because they were knackered, and it took more time to pull all the carpet out of the boot and unclip everything than it did to actually change the struts. And yeah, I think I'm not sure the reliability rumors are fair, but I think the thing about them being difficult to work on is you can see why most garages don't want to touch them because you won't do anything else.
Yeah, it's that classic intricate Italian design. That,
Yeah.
well, I say classic intricate, but your Seicento was apparently easy to work on. So
It's chalk and cheese though, I think, because it's like I think I edited it out of last week's video actually, but I made a very sort of strong point, which is the Seicento is a cheap city car. I think it was about $6,000 when it was new. In today's money, the Alpha was nearly $50,000 when it was new.
oh
So
yeah,
you do get a higher quality product, but when it takes you 2 hours to take a door mirror off, who gives a damn what the car's worth? I just want the door mirror off.
yeah,
So it swings around. I mean, that's the most sort of challenging car I've ever worked on. But then I'm used to small cars that come apart in your hands, so it might not be a fair complaint. And the thing I've learned with Alphas, particularly with my GTV, is there's not enough of an aftermarket for them, really. So everything you have to buy, mechanical parts are okay because it's all Fiat stuff. So it's based on a TPO platform. So things like calipers you can have tomorrow, and you can get a new gearbox tomorrow, and things. But little things like window switches and grills for the lower part of the bumper, which I couldn't find for love nor money, and boot badges and things like that. All the little Alpha specific bits you cannot find brand new because no one makes them. So you have to pay through the nose and find them second hand. So it's easy to see why a lot of those cars, like 156s and GTVs, have kind of been left to waste a bit because no one wants to put the effort in to keep them going. They're not easy cars to own.
yeah. No, we've got at my parents' house. We've got a friend's one in our driveway. It's been sat there for a few years now. The guy still wants it. He wants to bring it back. He loves the car.
They all say that, yeah.
Yeah, it's the 24 valve
Oh, the
V6
V6.
one. Yeah,
Nice.
and I mean it's fast. It's a good car.
Yeah.
But he's had endless issues with it. I think it's nearly 100,000 miles.
Mm.
He loves the car, but it's a money pit that constantly breaks.
They're a bit of a labour of love, Alphas, and I think I'm not going to, that's not to say that a BMW at that age or a Mercedes at that age wouldn't go wrong as well. But the difference is BMW and Mercedes have got an aftermarket.
Yeah.
You can get things for them. The Alpha, you have to be more committed to it. And I think the best example I ever heard of that was, and also generally speaking, the people who know the parts really, you either get really knowledgeable people or people who genuinely got no clue. So my editor Paul has got a Spider, Series 4 Spider, and he went to like an Alpha Auto Jumble a few years back, and he saw I think it was an inlet manifold on the floor, and he says to the bloke, "Oh, what's that for?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know, mate, 75, 33, something like that." How not knowledgeable are you? You don't even know what car it came off. And whereas you go to like a Volkswagen show and you say to someone, "What's that off?" And he goes, "Oh, 72 1300 Beetle will fit this, and this." And it's not. There's exceptions to both rules, obviously, but I will say that was a challenging car to work on and a challenging car to find parts for. But then things change. So I've got my Seicento as my kind of weekend fun car. I've got a Peugeot 205 project car from work. And the Alpha was going to be my sort of daily driver to go to and from shoots and everything like that. But I've recently got a company car, like a brand new Mini company car. So I thought, well, the Alpha doesn't really fit in anywhere then. So I don't have any need for it. So I thought, well, other than the fact it needs a bit of paint doing, it's in good fettle now. I've put all the work in. It's actually a good car now. So I thought, well, I could probably turn a bit of a profit if I sold it, but I don't really need that right now. Like, if I just break even on it, I'll be quite happy. And I'm fortunate enough to still be in work. I know a lot of people aren't at the moment. Unfortunately, they've lost their jobs and what have you. So I thought, right, well, let's sell it. Let's take the profit and do something with it. So I thought, let's give it to charity. And the thing is, it doesn't get talked about enough, is mental health is something that's really important to me, is that I've been affected by it, family members, girlfriends, work colleagues, people I went to school with. It affects so many people that it just doesn't get talked about. So I thought, right, let's find a mental health charity that does some good. And I came across the Samaritans, who the cause is incredible. They help people in workplaces and they help people in school. They even help people in prisons because mental health in prison is not a high priority. So I thought, right, let's sell the Alpha. And I said, I think every penny over £1,000 the auction got, I'm going to give to the Samaritans. And as luck would have it, it's gone considerably over £1,000. It's sold. The guy's picking it up next week, so we'll confirm the amount on that. But he's put a bit of extra money in as well, and I've put a bit of extra money on my own in as well. So that car that I bought for fairly cheap off my company is now ended up not only selling for a lot more than what it was originally, but also has raised a load of money for charity. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I
it's
saw that.
really good. It's
I
coming.
didn't have. I saw it at 900. I thought I'd love to just be able to put it to a grand, just so it hits that limit. But I don't know. I didn't have a grand
No, this is it. And
to put
that
on
was
it.
it was a bit of a risk, I'll admit, because it wasn't so much that it doesn't sell, big deal, I've still got the car. The worry I had more was that because money is a bit tight for a lot of people at the moment, because people are only on 80% and they're on furlough or they've lost their job entirely, there is a real danger that no one who wants it has got the money to bid on it. And I thought, if it only just tips over 1,000, if it sells for like 1,020, it seems like a wasted exercise, because time you've got the eBay fees in that, it hasn't actually raised anything. But we're in the process now where it's actually raised a really good chunk of cash. There's going to be a video in a few weeks, I think. So I've agreed the new owner has allowed me to film him picking it up and sort of saying thank you. So yeah, there's a video in a few weeks, but that is going to be, I'm chuffed for that. That's really, really nice.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. I mean, I saw it and I shared it out, saying, "Hey, at least get it to a grand, guys, please."
Thanks for
um,
that. I
but yeah,
appreciate it. The support was incredible. I mean, I don't think it got many bids up until like the last day of the auction, but it had like 500 watchers on it. It was insane. So
yeah, it was a tense few days before the last one. I was thinking, "Oh, come on, creep up, please."
got to do something. But I'm really pleased. And the fact of the matter is, even at the price the guy's paid for it, and even including his donation, he still bought the cheapest roadworthy GTV in the country. So if he wants to do a clickbaity YouTube video, there's one there. But yeah, he's still, and in my opinion, he's bought a really, really good car. The truth is, if I hadn't got a company car, I probably would have kept that Alpha for myself, because I love them, and it's still brilliant. It's still a fantastic car. But I'm glad I got to own one before the prices go stupid.
Yeah, and they say that you're not a true car person until you've owned an Alpha.
Yeah, I can
You
tick that box
that
now.
box.
I think next up, well, we'll see. But I had a message I had a comment on a video the other day from someone on I did another Seicento update video. I did a few little bits, and someone said to me, "Oh, when are you buying another project car?" I was like, "Yeah, when this one's finished. let's get one done first." Which there's plans afoot for the Seicento. So I've been I was building a nest egg for plans with my now ex-girlfriend that didn't come through. So I've now got this big lump of money that I put to one side that now I don't need. So plans afoot, let's
Yeah,
say that much.
it's all going to the car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. But hey, cars are more faithful than girlfriends in my experience. So,
Ooh, big claims from Joe Miller.
that's a blanket term. So that doesn't apply.
No, my girlfriend knows that I love my car more than her, so she.
Was that on the first date? You just like, before we go any further, you need to know.
Yeah, I will call my car my baby before I will call you my baby. So be prepared for that.
Jesus Christ! Fair play, man.
Hey, she likes cars as well. She loves Formula One,
Oh, there you go.
and it's all in good fun.
There you go. You've landed a good one there, then, by the sound.
Oh yeah, I have. Very happy about that.
Good man.
But yeah, so my baby is rusted and sat in my parents' driveway, just like my friend's Alpha. So I'm deciding the future of
how far that goes. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, it's quite I think I bought the cheapest BMW Z3 on eBay. I wasn't smart enough to make the clickbait title for that back in the day.
Everyone does that now. This is like the cheapest of everything now.
Yeah.
I bought the cheapest Lamborghini Huracan and the cheapest Bugatti Veyron. Well, Tavares would probably do that, but
I started watching those videos, like Tavares when he bought the Lamborghini Gallardo, and yes. I was quite into that because it was him building it on his own, and that was really cool to me. And I kind of got into B is for Build, and then I just got bored of it. It's like, oh, now we're going to do a Huracan, and now we're going to do this, and
the only problem I've got with a lot of that stuff, and I think this is probably more coming from me, where I like the kind of achievable stuff, which is why I had a cheap Alpha, and I've got a Seicento that I do cheap mods that most people can do. Is I was watching B is for Build did his LS powered Huracan, the SEMA car that he built. And I think he said something like, "Oh, and today we're going to be putting these injectors. Now these injectors are cheap. They're only like $2,000." I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. What? And then he's like, "Oh, and here's this ECU." And I went and Googled the ECU, and it's like a $5,000 thing. And the wheels are worth more than everything I own. And I think this isn't really achievable. I mean, one of my absolute favorite YouTubers. You look at Mighty Car Mods. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
one of the most viewed series they've had in recent times was putting an eBay turbo on a Yaris. You know, people love the achievable stuff, and that's what I like.
What was it? It was Yaris Hilton.
Yeah, Yaris
That's
Hilton,
the one, yeah.
and I love that because I think there's you've got videos on. Well, I think the proof's of the pudding that there's videos on their channel. They did one with a Ferrari a couple of years ago, and that hasn't got as many views as like a Yaris with an eBay turbo on it. And I think that says people like the achievable stuff. They like the fact it's something they can aspire to, which is what I try and do.
Yeah, I think they have a really nice balance between the Yaris and cheap eBay turbo, and then building a really nice, like when they do their like the Legacy, Subaru Legacy.
Yeah, incredible. And the 240.
It's a little bit more expensive, but it's still attainable.
Yeah, it's the way that I think the way people kind of look at project cars, like if I haven't added up how much I've got into my Seicento because I daren't do it, but I'm prepared to admit it's at least 5 times what the car's worth, at least. Even if I were to sell it tomorrow, I would be severely out of pocket. But they sort of said with that Yaris, I think they said they put about 10 grand into it. And they said, oh, for 10 grand, I could buy a Focus RS, or I could buy this or that. It's like, yeah, but you don't need to have your 10 grand now. And you can, you spend a few hundred, buy some wheels, buy some tires, buy this, buy that, and rather than just have the big lump. And if you spend the 10 grand, you've got the same Fiesta ST or Golf R or Focus RS as everyone else. Whereas you've got something totally different. I'm the only person I know with a Punto swap Seicento with Subaru seats in it, and it's nice to have something different, as I'm sure you'll appreciate.
Yeah. You're building it your own way, and you're learning how to do it at the same time, and that's the best part, I think, of car ownership and car like modifying. I mean,
you could go into that whole cynical thing these days of, oh, the car says everyone's got a finance Golf R that's on air ride with a pops and bangs remap. I can't disagree with that in that there is a lot, but equally there are people doing really interesting stuff. So without wishing to plug, I was just reading an article in Fast Car that I am in no way affiliated with, and it was about someone who'd done, it was an Audi 90, and they put the engine out of an S3 in it, and they'd made custom air ride, and they'd done custom. That's really cool. No one else has got something like that. It's something different. And whereas, and this is why old cars come into their own. Whereas I could walk into a Volkswagen dealer tomorrow and go and sign a dotted line for 5 years and get a finance on a Golf R, but I don't want that. I want something different. So that's what I like to think. It's like with my videos, I've kind of said, I'm doing this as a Seicento, but you can do it to whatever. If you've got a Yaris or you've got a Fiesta, and I tend to think, if you can inspire people to go and give it a go, and all these cheap, crappy cars that no one likes, that's where you learn stuff. I didn't learn how to change an engine from a brand new Golf R. Because I wouldn't. I learned it from my 500 quid shitbox. It isn't, to me, it means the world, but to most people wouldn't give a damn about it. And that's the nice thing, is that it kind of, you learn far more from doing your own thing on cheap cars than you do financing a brand new one. And that, to me, is how cars should be.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think the idea behind financing a brand new car is it's that status. It's that I got this new car, and it is nice that when you turn the key, you don't have to worry about it starting.
You don't do it with the fingers crossed.
Yeah. Come on, please. Like, your girlfriend's there, you're going to look at you like, don't do this now.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was one point shortly after I'd done the engine swap where my starter motor, because I forgot to change the bloody starter motor, was starting to go. So every single time it would be, get in, please stop. Yes, right. And then with that, and like immediately it's an event. Whereas that new Mini I've got, I get in, I press a button, it goes. And there is a place for that. I'm not going to deny there's a place for that, but it's nice to have something a bit more interesting. That's it's not when will I get there, but will I get there?
Yeah. If it makes it, we did well.
We did well. We've got a good day. Nothing fell off today, so we're doing all right.
Yeah. Something I wanted to ask you about. One of my favourite YouTubers, apart from you, obviously,
good man. Nice save.
JM on Cars. He is probably one of my favourite YouTubers out there. I love his. we're going into editing and video stuff. He came from a filming background, but it seems so simple. It's bread and butter stuff. It's film the
Yeah,
car, film it driving off, talk about it from inside.
yeah.
And you have had him featured on your channel.
I have, yes. So I forget how I got in touch with him. I think it was about 3-4 years ago. Because he started his series of cool cars for young people, and he messaged me on Instagram because I was really small at that point. I only had sort of 500-600 subscribers, and he said, "Oh, I like what you do. It's something different. Do you want to come up and appear on a podcast we're doing?" And he lives in Norfolk, which is like 4 hours away from me. So yeah, okay, fine, bit of exposure. So I did this podcast thing, and then a few months later, I got another message from him, and he said, "There's an open day at a Lotus dealer near me, and they want my car to appear there," because he had his Evora at the time. And he said, "Do you want to come and sort of spend a couple of days, stay up with me? We'll do a video on your car, video on my car." And yeah, and I spent a day filming at the Lotus dealer as well, and that was quite cool. They had some interesting stuff there. And yeah, he did a video on my Seicento, and it's interesting to see how he worked. And he sort of, I took a few things from that day in how he runs, of kind of get, camera, go out, film, just say what you see, anything that comes to mind, say it, cut it down, there's a video. And the video I did in his Evora was a bit different because obviously I couldn't drive it, but I was kind of talking to him about why did you buy it and what's this and everything else. And even just from that point on, it's interesting to see how he works. I mean, his channel's gone enormous since we did that. I think when we filmed that, he was on 25,000 or somewhere around there. He's just clicked over 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
I like to think I helped him on that journey, but
Integral.
I'm taking credit for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, fair play. I really like James, and we spent a couple of days together in Norfolk, and he's just a lovely guy, and he loves what he does, and he's got a cracking taste in cars. So we're always going to get on well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I met him at the Dunsfold Classic Car Show. I went in my embarrassingly dirty Z3, and he was there, and he came over, said hi, traded my car. I was like, okay, cool, it's nice, good car. Yeah. He's reviewed one. I've seen his review on it, and then he showed me around his car, and talked to me a little bit about YouTube. He gave me he subscribed to my channel, so that was really cool. And he's been on the This Week on Cars as well. So,
yeah, I see he's been on there as well with his fantastic shirt collection.
Yeah, so I mean, he's someone that I'd love to actually connect with and talk to more at some point.
Yeah, I think that there is this whole thing.
Incredibly busy.
The YouTube car community are quite well connected. That it's not. I think the American car scene on YouTube, there's more of it. So people like Evan Shanks and Adam LZ, they all sort of talk to you. Where in the UK, you do get this divide of kind of the supercar YouTubers and the classic car YouTubers and the cheap, crappy project car. And we don't really mix too much, but in those communities, there's quite a lot. So in the kind of weird old stuff category, I mean, I like to think I fit in there a bit, but you've got Hubnut, who I mentioned, you've got a girl called Steph, who does a channel called I Drive a Classic. She's got a few old British Leyland things. She's in there as well. There's, on the bigger scale, you've got Johnny Smith, who presented Fifth Gear back in the day. He's doing YouTube stuff these days, and we all kind of interact on Twitter, and it builds it up. And I think we borrow subscribers from each other, as it were. So yeah, it's quite nice to get involved because again, you learn off each other and you grow off each other. So it's quite nice that we are a bit of a weird car YouTube family in a way.
Yeah, and that's the best thing. You kind of reach out to people, and I think the car community, it's brilliant. Like, I reached out to Lee Lockwood, to Jamie FYD, to do all the. I reached out to everyone. That dude in blue, I reached out to, like, hey, can I use your picture? And didn't get a response. I used it anyway. But after a few weeks of that, him and Chris Fixit liked the post I did. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, as soon as you get that kind of recognition, I think I met Jamie FYD 4 or 5 years ago, and it was at Dub Customs of all places. There was a show there, and I had a quick chat with him on video, and it wasn't a very good video because it was filmed on a GoPro, and I didn't know what I was doing. But it was the start of something, and I met him at Ford Fair again, and he remembered me and was like, "Oh, dude, how's your channel doing?" and all the rest of it. And wasn't Steph AB, who does all the Abarth stuff.
Yeah.
We've met online through the Italian car scene because he's branched out a bit, and I filmed a bit with him when I was at a car show at Brands Hatch. And I think this is it. You kind of build off of each other, and the numbers speak for themselves. That the more it's easy to be kind of, oh, I'm going to be my own success and be really secluded. But again, as soon as you start doing stuff with other people, it's sort of, it helps. And I think that's, yeah, it's good to kind of help each other because it's not a competition. We all just want to make some cool videos and make some people watch it. And if people are enjoying it, that's the main thing, I think.
Yeah, that's, I think, getting to the point where you can say, yeah, people enjoying this,
Yeah.
everyone's doing this together, it's good fun. That's a great community to have. And I think that I think the UK. Well, I'm not too into all the knowledge about the UK car scene on YouTube, but it seems like it's a really good place to be, and
Yeah.
everyone's out there to help each other, rather than being snobbish about, you know, that you seen through glass won't look at your channel and go, oh, he's got a small yellow shit box. He's
No,
the kind of person that would say, oh, this is really cool. I love the fact that you're doing this.
there's some and some. I think there is. The trouble is, and again, you'll appreciate this as well. You've like intentionally or not, we've all got our camera personalities. Where as soon as the camera goes on, little things about you change, like the way you speak and and again, people will notice because I do live streams occasionally that how I am on a live stream isn't quite my same excitable bouncy. Yeah, let's do this thing. Yeah, that I am on camera because that's my camera personality. And it's like if you're the best sort of analogy I can come up with is like if you're at a wedding and or party or something and you're dancing and all of a sudden you realize someone's filming you naturally dance a bit better because someone's filming you. And I think that's the best analogy for the camera personality thing. But I won't name any names because that's not fair, but there's one particular YouTuber I have met in person and is nothing like their camera personality and is really kind of self-absorbed and arrogant. And it's the same with when people meet celebrities. Just because
Yeah.
you're like this on camera doesn't mean it's how you are in real life. But I think as soon as there's not this pressure, but you shouldn't feel obliged to, but you should still be a nice person because as soon as you put yourself in front of a camera, which you don't have to, you choose to do it, and you open yourself out to the world. First of all, you open yourself up to criticism, comments, and what have you. But also, if people decide they enjoy what you do enough that they want to go up and they want to meet you, just be nice to them. Because if people didn't watch your stuff, you probably wouldn't be doing it. So just the reality is, it's all when everyone like with sports, everyone goes, "Oh, football's a beautiful game," and yeah, but look at what they're doing at the moment, where they're having to play it with an empty stadium because of the social distancing thing. It's just not the same without it, and that's the reality. If no one watched YouTube, it probably wouldn't exist. So just be nice to people. It's not difficult.
No, it's not. I think I've started reaching the point where people are shit posting on my on my videos.
Yeah.
I'm yet to reach the point where someone wants to meet me. I think I got a comment on one of my videos saying shit lighting. I was like, okay, well,
Thanks, man.
yeah.
Cheers.
If there's like another videos, like say on yours, I'll see someone put a shit comment on. I'll go to their
Yeah.
profile. 99% of the time, they have no content.
Videos.
And
No subscribers, nothing.
yeah, it's like we're putting ourselves out here producing content, and for me at this point, it's just recording what I'm doing. Like, I'm not trying to be a studio. Like, yeah, the lighting probably is quite bad, but
I don't
I'm
have
in a
10 grand worth
garage.
of lights on me. Yeah, exactly. And I had this a bit when I was at McDonald's. Some of my colleagues who, well, how can I put it politely? They're proof that evolution hasn't quite reached everyone yet. Let's say that much. And they've sort of take the piss and whatever at work, but they'd be in the process of leaving really douchey comments on my earlier videos. And I think if you go back to some of those really early ones, there are still a lot of douchey comments because I couldn't be asked deleting them. And they get, I thumb down every video you make on purpose. Okay, thanks. And it is easy to kind of get. I mean, Jamie FYD is a great example. He went through a period there of rampant hate in the comments, and particularly
I think I remember that. That was when everyone was just saying like commenting on how his videos are dying, getting no views, and
exactly this channel's you got 100,000 subscribers and 2,000 views. This channel's dying, and the Rice Fiesta situation where he stopped doing it. So it's like, you never finish your project, Carl, and you fuck this up and everything else. And there's this rampant hate, and fair play to the guy for pulling through it. Because if I were getting that level of, it was probably 80% negative comments. And if you're at that point, I get why you'd give it up because it really is. And like Steph that I mentioned, I drive a classic. She's had, because she does the classic stuff, and most of the classic stuff generally is old men
Yeah.
she was getting a lot of comments about, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, love, and let the man drive it and do the, and they were insulting her about the way she looks and about her figure and about her knowledge on cars. And that ruins people. It's easy to see why some of the crap from the media affects people. But again, if you pull through it, and that's what the way I look at it is, it takes someone 5 seconds to write a douchey comment, but it takes 5 seconds for me to go click, delete,
Yeah.
move on. All you need is one good comment, and it makes your day. And that's the thing, is see through it all, and because eventually, I tend to think if you look at the number of subscribers you've got and the number of views on a video, even if it's relatively modest, you think, oh, there's only 200 views, which in YouTube terms is absolutely nothing. But you think, yeah, but 200 people took the time to watch that. It's like, and they care what I have to say. That's cool. That's something different. And yeah, it's a weird thing where you'll never meet most of these people, but they help you out and they support you, and it's a brilliant thing, really.
Yeah, I think I just put a post on Instagram a few days ago where I've just ticked over 50 subscribers. Like, oh, like,
Congratulations, by the way. Yeah,
yeah, thank you. I don't think I have like 50 close friends, let alone people that I would go to if I need anything. Like, this is amazing that, okay, some of them are friends, but it's amazing that 50 people said, I like your content enough that I want to be notified when you make new content, if YouTube allows it. But like the intention of clicking the button's still there.
Yeah. And it's still something that I think the first time I sort of realized this was okay, people are actually, because the thing is, you can have a video, there's times when you have a channel with, well, I've got a couple where I've got 6,000 subscribers at the moment, but I've got videos that are on 20, 30, 40,000 views. So what they've done is clicked it, watched the video and gone, I don't really like this guy, and just not gone back, which I get. Not every channel I watch I'm subscribed to, because I just don't like what they, I might watch one video and that's it. But I did a live stream. I did my first live stream about 9 months ago, I think. And all I basically did was a bit like this. I just put the YouTube live on, let people ask questions. I answered them. I rabbited on for an hour and a half, and that was it. But when it ticked over, and I looked around and was like, there's 1,000 people watching this. Like actual real, like they've chosen to go and listen to me talk crap, and they're still here.
Yeah, in real time as well.
Exactly. It's not like they've clicked it and gone, oh, this is crap, and clicked off. They're still there. They're actively watching in real time, and that is a big deal. And it brings people together. I think that's what makes YouTube such a great platform.
Yeah, I mean, I at some point I aspire to be at that level, and I'll have to work on being more consistent. I think it's no secret on how to do well on YouTube. It's just that I'm not good at doing any of them.
I think, let me put it to you this way, my friend, is that you look at what I was doing 4 years ago when I was at the kind of subscriber level and view count that you're at, and you are miles better than I was at that level. So I wouldn't worry too much.
Thanks.
You're already not doing these stupid little crappy holiday sketches like I was. So you're already better in my book.
Yeah, see, the issue is, so it's consistency, which, okay, that's a problem. I need to work on that. The next one is, like, talk to your subscribers or comments and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, I do that. I interact, social media, that kind of thing, yeah. And it's find a niche. Okay, my niche was my Z3. Yeah. Now that's broken. Okay, I had the Z cars racing. Now that COVID's here, I can't go and film it. Yeah. Now I have a Jaguar, which is a 4-door saloon car, completely different to the Z3. Yeah, I wanted to make a track car. So, okay, so now the helmet is there.
Yeah, I can see just in the reflection there. Yeah, because race driver, bro.
So, so I've started going karting now. So I need a GoPro. My GoPro is conked out. I need to find it and see if it will work. Or I just invest in another GoPro so I can film my karting. So my channel has gone from Z3 garage modification stuff to
racing,
intertwined with racing stuff. So that it's a kind of, they're both the BMW Z car, so it kind of fits in. And my idea was to hopefully get to the stage where I'm racing the Z3 with them.
Yeah,
and that's kind of out of the picture.
That's a cool thing to aspire to. I think, like you say, it's difficult to know with YouTube is how niche to go. So I think you do get times where there's sort of no. What's a good example? So, like with my stuff, I was thinking before when the company car thing was in question, but I'd already sold the Alpha. As in it was already up for auction. I thought, right, okay, so if I don't get a company car, I'm going to need a new daily driver. And in my head, I was like, right, it's got to be Italian, because if it's not Italian, no one's going to watch it. I'm like, hang on a minute, I shouldn't be letting YouTube views dictate the cars I'm going to buy. And I think it's difficult to know how branched out to go, because you look at someone like, take Jamie FYD, he doesn't his cars, he's had all sorts of random stuff. You know, he had a Lexus, and he's had an MX-5, and he had that Dodge truck, and then he had a BMW X6. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
And
the camo one. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, we'll gloss over that. You know, and now he's got a 106 GTI and an RS Turbo and an RS3, and it's all totally different stuff. But it just resonates with people. And I think if you can keep it fairly general, it's only got to. That's all it has to be. It doesn't have to be something. A great example: Sean Barrett, back when he did Boosted. You know,
Yeah.
people still watched his channel. I mean, he changed cars every 15 minutes, but people
Oh,
still
yeah.
watched his content
2
because they
videos of his
enjoyed.
MX-5, and then it's gone.
Oh, it's got. Oh, there's an E36 now. Oh, there's an Audi S3. Oh, there's, you know, people still watched it because they enjoyed him and they enjoyed his content. And I think that's the thing is, you at the end of the day, you can fall into that trap of trying too hard to just be a YouTuber. And again, there was that thing where I'm thinking, right, well, my next daily driver has got to be Italian because then it's going to appeal to my. But and I very briefly thought, hang on, I could get a BMW. Yeah, but if they don't, yeah, but people are there for the Italian stuff, so they won't watch that. And the key is, if people like you, they will watch, regardless of what the content is. And it's the same with Sean. You know, he did a video on cleaning his house out, but people still watched it because they like watching him. And this is the thing with me is I think I did a video, it was a while back, a friend of mine bought her first car, which is a Skoda Fabia. I think, well, it's
I
not
remember that one.
Italian. It's not a Seicento. It's not my car. We're not doing any mods to it. So theoretically, it shouldn't really do very well. But that video is on 4,000 or 5,000 views because people are still interested enough. I think there's a lot of Skoda Fabia owners are interested enough to click on that video. I mean, there is that whole thing of, oh my God, there's a lady on the internet. And again, we did get a few inappropriate comments, so it's filtering through. But once you get to the point where people are like you, as in they're not watching because I like to think I'm at the point now where because I do stuff other than the Seicento stuff, but people are still watching, it's not because they're just, oh, well, I've got to watch this guy because no one else is doing Seicento stuff. They're watching because they enjoy what I do. And it's the same with yours. If they're watching for the racing and for working on your own car and people are still watching and listening to this, people watching and listening to this are watching and listening now, it's because they enjoy you and what you do. And that's the thing. You look at TV presenters, you know, they might do a game show and then they might do a talent show like Britain's Got Talent or something, and they'll transit, but people will watch it. I mean, Clarkson's doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's nothing like Top Gear, is it? But people are watching it because he's on it, and it's.
And he was the driver in the Mr. Blobby music video, so he's come a long way.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, that's a nice bit. I think he still puts out his CV, but it's if you're at the point where people are watching for you, I think you're doing all right. And it's in those early stages where you try and establish that this is me rather than this is, you know, here's my car and I'm just the bloke holding the camera, which I think is, I mean, there's people, go back to Mighty Car Mods. I've never owned a Japanese car. It's going to be a while before I own one. And yeah, they predominantly do Japanese stuff, but I love what they do. And most of what they do is Japanese stuff. It doesn't bother me. I watch it for them because I enjoy what they do. And it's more about being a person than being a feature, as it were.
Yeah, they are ridiculously funny.
That's the main thing.
I think they are, along with you, some of the funniest car YouTubers. You are absolutely hilarious. And I don't know whether... James, JM on Cars, he's also really funny. I don't know if it's just a British thing.
I think it is. I think it's just sharp wit.
Yeah. but then the Mighty Car was obviously being Australian. They're just really stupid funny. Like they'll make loads of sexual innuendos, but I'm still a child at heart. I'll laugh at that. I don't care.
We've kind of got this adult thing of, oh, that shouldn't be funny. We should be mature, but it actually is, you know. And they do a joke where they undo a shock absorber, and the top of the shock absorber is rising up. We're all looking at shafts rising, hey, you know. And there's still that thing of that's quite funny, but it's still something you can connect with. Whereas I think a lot of these YouTubers, naming no names, get a bit far into the superstardom of, hey guys, like, comment, subscribe, watch my thing, and you just become a number to them. A lot of them are still relatable. So, like with Mighty Car Mods, when they do their disrespected nose ones, where they're really, really long videos that they don't edit, you think that's just what it would be like to hang out with them for an hour and a half, you know, and that's just what they're like. And again, there's still that camera personality of I'm a bit more excitable on camera than I am in real life, but I'm not much. I'm still not.
You sit down working on a car for an hour and a half, and an unedited video, your camera personality is gonna wear off quite quickly.
Oh yeah. I tend
especially
to
when you have a
think,
bolt that won't come off.
oh yeah, there are bits on the Alpha videos that I've left in where I'm not on camera personality, where a bolt won't come out or a thing breaks, and I'm just shouting and swearing at it, because that's real life. You know, you can have a TV show where they've spent 3 hours gently loosening this bolt with WD-40, so that when they put the camera in front of it and they grab a wrench and go, yeah, it comes off straight away. But that doesn't happen. That's no
No.
one does that. So don't fake reality. You know, like I did that video where I flocked my dashboard. I say flocked it, tried to flock my dashboard. And it was crap. But I thought, well, show people, look, here's not how to do it. Here's how it
Yeah.
went wrong. And I think people like that, it makes it a bit more human. Like I did the video when I failed my MOT because the exhaust fell apart, you know, and the headlights weren't in the right. That's a thing that these just happen. You know, I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't. Whereas if I just financed a brand new Lamborghini, I wouldn't have these worries. But also, who finances a brand new Lamborghini? You know, it's not relatable.
Yeah, and I guess doing the YouTube videos, it serves as a diary of the car as well. It's like,
Yeah,
here's everything I've done, and I can see it, and I've made it so that other people can enjoy it. But predominantly, I can, like, it's there. Everything I've
yeah.
done is there's proof of it.
I get this thing where it's like, I occasionally, as egotistical as it sounds, I'll watch my own videos back from a long time ago, because I think, again, I've been doing this long enough now that there's a long, I look back and think, I'd only just started driving when I was doing YouTube stuff. And I look back and think, Christ, 2 years ago, I drove all the way to Poland on my own and did all the things. And I look at it and go, wow, that was amazing. And like I watched back the video where what was it? It was when I bought a new shape Fiat Punto as a sort of daily driver. And I look back and go, oh yeah, I remember the day I collected that. And I remember filming that. And it's little things. And like you say, it's a diary that other people can read. And let's be honest, deep down, we're all a bit nosy. So why wouldn't you read someone else's diary if you could?
Yeah, yeah. You bring up the Poland trip
Yes.
and driving 2,000 miles over there,
Mm.
and you had that little mishap on the way
Yeah.
back. Well, I think that's probably where putting in a lot of money into the Cento comes in.
That's true. That's the point, I think, where your heart rules your head a little bit. Where I think for those of you that don't know, that are watching and listening right now, I've got to talk about this for in the future, even though for us it's in the present tense. This is weird.
Yeah.
Where I was driving back I went all the way to Poland for a few day long Fiat festival in my Seicento, drove entirely on my own because the other people I was supposed to go with dropped out. I'd never driven in Europe before. I'd never driven on the wrong side of the road before. I'd never done anything like that before. Never been to Poland. Incredible time. On the way back, I was in Germany on my way back to the Eurotunnel, and I ended up in an altercation with a truck where my car was completely written off. The front end was bent at right angles. It would never, ever be drivable again. I got the car recovered back to the UK because there was loads of stuff on it. I thought, regardless of what happens next, there's stuff on it. You know, even if we break it, there's still stuff there. I got a taxi to a hotel. Then the next morning, I got a taxi to Berlin airport, flew home. And when I was in the airport departure lounge, I was speaking to my mum and dad, who are still petrified at this point because, you know, I'm stuck in Germany on my own.
Yeah, it's never
And
a nice call. Like, hi, mum, dad. I'm in Germany. Just got hit by a truck, but I'm
yeah,
in the airport, so I'm okay. Car's
that
not.
was about the extent of the phone call. I called my dad after the accident. I went, hi, Dad. And he went, hi, mate, you're right. I was like, not really. I've just had a crash. And he went, okay, you okay? I'm fine. Is the car okay? No. And I was sitting in the airport waiting to come home, and my dad was calling me. He was like, "Oh, I've just looked at Auto Trader. There's a Focus ST for 1,500 quid. Do you want me to go and buy it for you and everything else?" And I thought, there is this moment where I thought, maybe this is where I move on. Maybe this is the world's way of telling me, do something new, change cars. This is your chance to change. But then I thought, no, because that car means too much. I've spent all this time. I've built it up with my dad, and I've learned to drive in it. And I passed myself. No, it can't end here. That's not how it ends. So I've spent probably too much money on another one and reshelled everything, the engine, the coilovers, the brakes, the seats, everything onto the new one. And then I kept modifying that. And I've just about a year, 18 months ago, had it resprayed again, which cost more than the car was worth. And I've had custom angel eye headlights made on it. And I've got a lip on it now and different wheels. And it's still, I'm as we speak, I've got parcels on the way to fix things and change things and update things. And there's this little nest egg for a mystery project that I'm not revealing yet. And yeah, it's cost far more than it would ever make sense. And I don't care if they appreciate tenfold in value, I'll still lose money on it. But I don't care because it means the story. And I think there's the thing with cars. Often the story means more than the metal itself, in that people would look at that and go, oh, it's a noisy, crappy little yellow Fiat that no one cares about. Well, yes, but it was my first car, and I learned to drive in it, and I built it with my dad, and I've done all these videos on it, and I drove it to Poland, and it's the story. You can't buy that, and that's why people are like. There are certain people into the classic scene who like patinaed cars because you can see, oh well, that dent is from where I put these box of things on the roof in 1983, and on that key mark is when my ex-girlfriend got really mad at me and keyed the car. It's the story exactly, and it's what it means, and that's what cars are about, which is probably one of the reasons why I haven't got rid of it.
Yeah, no, I recently looked up the MOT history for my first car. I had a Peugeot 206 1.1.
Oh, good man.
Yeah, I had black box. It was like 1,400 insurance, so it was the cheapest I could get. But the only upgrade I did to it was buying the alloys, 17-inch alloys from a Peugeot 207.
Oh, decadent!
It was lovely. Had a nice little factory spoiler at the back. It was red.
Yeah.
I had black and red car seat and steering wheel covers. So that was that. But that was the extent of it. But I learned. The guy who owns the Alpha actually taught me how to service the car. So my dad was like, no, just take it to the garage. My dad can do it all, but he'd just like, look, you mess up and break it, I'm not paying for it to be fixed. Like, if you screw up a spark plug, that's the engine gone. That's not my problem anymore.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
He was like, I don't want to do it because then it'll be my fault.
But again, and again, you learn from these mistakes, but it's what the story means to you, because you still think, you learned how to service a car, and you learned how to drive, and everything else, and it's what it means to people.
Yeah, it was a car that I learned how to drive in. It was a car that I had when I passed my test. It was first Mackie's run in the car.
Yeah, exactly. Again,
and I still got pictures of it. I still look at it and go, that just looks amazing. I'll have to put up some pictures on my Instagram or something, because I think it still looks the best looking 206.
Yeah, and it's what it means. And I look back and I think, oh wow, like you say, first McDonald's run, and I drove to my first job in that car, and I took my first girlfriend out in that car, and she was still with me afterwards, so it went well. Yeah. And things like that. And I think the other day, because I had a black box insurance, but the black box wasn't hardwired in. It was, you just plugged it into your OBD thing.
Yeah.
And obviously the day I changed insurance companies, that got ripped out. But I was cleaning through some old paperwork the other day, and I found the old black box from when I was 17. I was like, I don't even know why I still have this, but it just means like, and the story is something you can't fake, and you can't, it's all well telling the thing for YouTube of, oh, here's my thing and everything else. But behind the scenes, if you actually care about it, and if it means anything to you, that's what cars are all about.
Yeah, no, I'm in a bit of a spot with my Z3. I've actually asked a few people whether they want it for braking, but it's so bog standard that it's not worth them picking it up and breaking it.
Yeah.
So it's like, because it's at my parents' house, I'm in London, so I can't get the parts off and break it myself, and then just leave a shell.
Car, exactly.
Yeah. But at the same time, I could just cut the rust out and then buy the parts to learn how to weld it, rent a welder for a week or something, and learn and do that and build it back up. But that's the crossroads. Is it worth it at the end of the day? But I want it to be worth it so much.
Yeah, it is know when to say when, and I think you've got to decide how in the long haul for it you are. So, like I was only aware Alex from Car Throttle, his MX-5.
Yes.
And it's like, he's 25 grand into that car, and it's like, you're never in hell going to see that money back.
But there's nothing like it.
Exactly, and it's his own story, and he loves it, and he's never going to sell it. It's all right, cool, brilliant. That's your own thing. And still, like, it comes back thinking, for 25 grand, I could buy an F-Type, or I could buy a 911. Yes, but you've got the same F-Type or 911 as everyone else has, whereas he's got a wide-body V6 MX-5 that he's built with his mates on his mum's driveway, and it's something different and special, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, no, even with 25 grand, I wouldn't buy a brand new car. I loathe people that I was talking to Matt, the TMC engineering podcast, like, people at my school in sixth form, they'd spend 10 grand on a brand new course. So like, 10 grand could buy you such a nice car and the insurance for it.
The thing is, it's not, there's one crucial detail there, which is they're not actually spending 10 grand on a new car. They're financing it for $199 a month. That's what they're actually doing. And I saw the most of our generation thing ever the other day. I was in the petrol station filling up the Alpha. Guy behind me can't have been more than 18 or 19. He can't have been. Pulled up behind me in a brand new A-class Merc. And he got out, and this has got to be 20, 25 grand's worth of car. And he gets out, and he puts 10 quid's worth of fuel on it. I was like, brand new work, and you're putting 20 quid's worth of fuel in. That is it. That is proof that you've only got that to flex, basically.
Yeah, I've put like 6 quid in my Z3 a few times, but the whole car was a shitbox anyway.
Yeah, but the fact is, you've bought and paid for it. It's your car. Whereas you're not. I'm not thinking. None of my cars, past or present, I'm not thinking, Christ, I hope I don't lose my job because otherwise I'm going to lose my car. I'm thinking, if I lose my job, I can sell my car to get some money back. It's not a case of, if I lose my job, a trailer's going to come around and take it away, and that's the last I'll see of it. And it depends what you want, because there were people that say, yeah, but why would you want something unreliable? Why don't you just want something where you get in it and work? And before you know where we are, we've all bought a diesel Golf, and we can go in a separate round.
It's boring.
Exactly. I don't want a diesel Golf.
No. Definitely not. I don't want an electric one either. I want sound.
No, that's a whole other topic for another day. But it's easy. There's two sides of things. I kind of feel like my editor Paul has got the best side of that, because he's got his Alpha Spider as his fun car, which is the kind of, will it start, won't it, what we're going to have to fix today. But then his daily is like a brand new Corolla hybrid estate that just gets in and works and does everything. It's like, perfect combo. Why not? Does everything.
Yeah, I guess because you can enjoy it, and then there's the car that's A to B. I mean, my Jag now, I kind of understand. Okay, people like getting in. It's leather seats, it's comfort. It's the cruise control is like the best thing to me. I've just discovered it. I'll use it anytime I get the chance to. It just makes driving so much easier, so much nicer. I can relax. I can understand why people do that, but I can still drive it, have a little bit of fun in it.
It's still a nice thing. And there is this argument where, I mean, you can have one car that does everything. If you only got the time or the space or the money or whatever for one car, you can get one car does it all. You can get a Megane RS or a Focus ST or a Fiesta or whatever. If you're fortunate enough that you can afford and justify and have space for more than one, why not go a bit wild? I've got my brand new company car Mini that I use as a daily driver. That's fine. I've got that. So now my weekend car can be this funny, stupid, crazy Seicento with no back seats. It's really noisy and doesn't get over speed bumps because I don't need it to.
Yeah.
And why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about something and I completely lost my train of thought. But but yeah, it's great. I'd love to be able to have, at some point, get another car. Oh, have you frozen? Oh, you have. Oh no, we're frozen with Joe Miller. Unless he's playing the mime really well. Oh, he's blinked. Oh no, we've got Joe mid-blink. There we go. It might be my internet.
There we go.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, I think that's still working. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Stand by, caller. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, it's great being able to have the car that gets you A to B work. Still enjoyable, but I mean, look, my Z3, I had my upgraded front bumper bungee corded into the front seat. The passenger.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
So it was
crazy.
Still very practical.
Yeah,
but
and it's as practical as you want it. I mean, you're in a convertible. Your luggage space is the sky. So the I think the most ridiculous experience I had was when, with my Seicento, I stripped the interior out to do sound deadening. So I put sound deadening mats under all the carpet, but you had to take the entire interior out to do it. And at that point, I was working evening shifts, so I'd spend all day pulling the interior out, and I did a bit of sound deadening, and I had to go to work, but I wasn't done. So I just bolted the driver's seat back in onto a bare floor and drove to work with no interior at all. And you could hit, and it was just it was so funny because this doesn't make sense to anyone. And there's a guy's just driven past me in his brand new finance Polo, and he's thinking, look at that idiot with no interior driving to work. Hilarious fun. Love it.
Yeah, I was close to messing up quite badly, but the mid modifications when you need the car, it wasn't a modification, it was fixing the passenger seat. The bushes and the rails had gone, so every time I hit the brakes, they went forward. Every time I accelerated, they went back. Wasn't great for the passenger, and I needed it for the next day, and I took it out and then realized that I left the bushes in London. So okay, great. So I was like, okay, let's just stuff it with thin bits of wood. That'll work. Did that, and the motors wouldn't work. So okay, I'll just take it out and put it back, and the motor didn't work anyway. I was like, well, I could have left it. but I needed it for the next day. The seat wouldn't move. I had to Google how to do it manually, and that was with a drill, just inch by inch.
Before you know where you are, there's things flying everywhere, and yeah, we've all been there. I think the most one I had once was with my Punto that I had, where I was off to do that week's work experience at Kelsey, and like 2 days before, the power steering column packed up, but not completely. So you'd be going around a roundabout, going on, all of a sudden the steering would just go and wait up, and you'd have no power steering, and then randomly it would just come back. I can't drive 3 hours like this. So I had to do a next day delivery on eBay of a new power steering column, and Dad and I were out there pulling it apart and just like, we have to make this work. We can't not, because at that point the Seicento was being prepped for a respray, so I couldn't use that. But the Punto wasn't really, just like, we have to make this work.
Yeah, it's do or die.
Yeah, exactly. As long as we'd have it, it worked. But yeah, that Punto was not a car that I regret selling, put it that way.
Yeah, I've not heard great things about the 1.2 Puntos there.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, that engine was a weak point in that car as well, because it had the twin air, which was an 875cc 2-cylinder. And in a 500 or a Panda, where they're really, really light, I get why that makes sense. But I think the Punto's too big and too heavy for it. So you have to cane it to get it to go anywhere. And once you're caning it, it's then drinking fuel, so you're then no better off anyway. But with a better engine, that might be a nicer car.
And then it's Italian, so it ends up breaking.
I'll say nothing more on that. But for what it's worth, though, I saw that car the other day because I actually sold it to someone I used to work with at McDonald's, actually, because her and her boyfriend had just moved in together and needed a car they bought a car together, sort of thing. So they bought my old Punto, and I saw it the other day, and it's like they've got a kid now and they're using it, and I spoke to her about it. She said, yeah, it's been totally reliable, loved it. It's like, oh, brilliant. If you're not interested in cars, if you just want a car, there it is, and it did it. And it's like, yeah, there is that argument of,
is it still working because you worked on it?
Well, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Because I think the day I bought it, and it had 4 basically ball tyres, no brakes to speak of, and as it turns out, a power steering column that was not long for this world. And I thought, yeah, I bought a good one here, haven't I? But that's another story.
Yeah, it's great. It'd be able to see. I think I've seen it a couple of times where I've seen or a friend's parents have sold their old car, and you'll recognise it on the street. You'll text them like, "Oh, I've seen your old car. It's still going," and they'll be like, "Oh."
You still recognise the number plates, exactly.
Yeah.
There's random cars you have, I think, where the number plates just stick in your head, bizarrely. So
yeah, my 206, I remembered it off by heart. I didn't even have to think about it. It was just, oh, that's what it is.
My dad had a Vauxhall Frontera, which he only owned for like a month. And we didn't really like it, and we didn't keep it for very long, and we didn't, it was just a stopgap. But I know the number plate even now, and I still Google it, and the cars still go, and it's random things like that that just stick in your head. But that's the world of cars, random things stick in your head.
Yeah, it is. Number plates, I know different part numbers, what fits what, and it's just
exactly
random bits that you'll never know or never need to know again unless you're doing that or need to help someone else with it.
You need to know the number plate of a car we owned 12 years ago. Well, as it happens.
Let's see if it's still about.
Yeah, my entire life has been building up to this one moment. But that have to be, if I ever go on mastermind, my specialist subject will be number plates of my parents' old cars.
That might be a little too niche for.
Bit niche, but I'll get all the points. I'll do the highest score in mastermind history. What car did your dad own in 2007? Oh, it's a Vauxhall Frontera, registration plate T303 JRD.
Did you grow up with your parents having cool cars and classic cars? Or
not really. I mean, my dad's into cars, and he's had some cool stuff. He's had a couple of Opel Mantas. He's had a Ford Capri, which he hated. He's had an MX-5. He's had a Fiesta XR2i. He's had some cool stuff. But by the time that he came to having kids, it was more kind of get something practical that hauls the kids and hauls stuff. So in the time, like our main family car, we had a Mondeo, we've had a Laguna, we've had a Mitsubishi Shogun, we've had that Frontera, we had a Renault 19. It's just perfectly decent family stuff. We've had 3 Renault Scenics because my mum just loves them. But it's a weird one. It's like, my dad is into cars in that when he was a kid, he had a Mini that he had the engine bored out and he had bigger carbs on it and different wheels, and he built it up because that's what you did when you were young in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I think he sees a bit of himself in me doing that now. So the reality is he doesn't have the need or the want or the spare facilities to have his own little project. But so it's quite nice that he can get involved with mine. Mum's into cars in more of an external sense. I mean, in that she knows that we appreciate them and she can tell you what she likes and she doesn't like, but it's not, she couldn't change a gearbox, you know, she couldn't service a car, but that's not, you know, it's different strokes for different folks. I mean, her job, she's a registrar. I couldn't conduct a wedding, you know, it depends what you're into. But they've always been quite supportive of that, in so much as that, they've always pushed me to do what I want to do. In so much, it's like with this job, and I said they've offered me my dream job, but I have to move 3 hours away to do it. And my mum just said to me, "Is this what you want to do with your life?" And I said, "Yes, this is everything. Writing about cars for a living and filming them. This is always, every kid wants to do this." She said, "If that's what you want to do it, because you'll regret not doing it." And exactly. So let's go for it. And they're very, very supportive, but in more of a kind of, it's what I love, so they want me to do it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's quite similar with my parents. Said, well, apart from if you break it, you'll have to fix it, and if you need the car, don't ask me for help. But
yeah,
my dad will then, like when I got my Z3, he's like, "Oh, there's like little few cosmetic things wrong on it." And like a week later, he showed me a thing on eBay. Like, do you want the M Sport gear knob? I'm like,
yeah,
no, I don't need it, thank you. But ended up getting it. It's like, oh, what about these alloys for it? And then what about this? And the badges for the car need replacing. So he's like, look, I thought you weren't going to get involved in my car, but here you are.
and it's quite nice to have that kind of passive support, like you say. I mean, when a couple of years back, when I wanted a set of the bigger, the Abarth wheels for my Seicento, and they only came on the Abarth ones, and I couldn't find a set of the wheels. But my dad was like, "I found a Seicento Abarth, a whole car on Facebook, where because it's got no MOT, they only want 150 quid for it." And I went on holiday with my then girlfriend, and he gave us a lift back from the airport when we came home. And he bought this car, and it was just on the drive. He's like, "Right, we'll swap the wheels over and get that sold." And then, as luck would have it, we ended up keeping that car because we said, "Oh, that can be your brother's first car. Yeah, brilliant. Why not? We can stick it in storage because we've got a workshop. We can shove it in." And then I used it for a while my Seicento was being rebuilt after I'd crashed it.
This is the red one, isn't it?
Yeah, the red. That's exactly the red one, and it's still here now. But literally, while we've been filming this, I can hear outside that he's just gone out with my dad to kind of practice driving in it a bit, and it's really nice. Like he's doing. I mean, he's not into cars at all. He sees a car as transport. It's just convenient that we had a car he could use. But it's really nice to think that we're sort of carrying that on. And I like to think that when he's done with that car, I will probably buy it off him, to be honest, because I really, really like that car. But, that's me. I've got a small Fiat problem. I'll hold my hands up.
Yeah. Well, you know what you like and you're running with it. There's no problem with that.
Exactly. Just don't look at my bank account.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Well, being into cars, it's better than being into drugs and alcohol. So
I think it was, funnily enough, it was gears and gasoline, like you mentioned earlier. They said something like, the car hobby is for people who think that building computers wasn't expensive enough. Exactly. Yeah.
Funnily enough, I'm trying to go into that now because that's
well, it'll be a damn sight cheaper than the car stuff. So
God, and everyone says that it's a bit like Lego blocks, and if you're used to working on cars, this will be a breeze. So I certainly hope it is. But essentially,
I did a video on building a computer about 4 years ago, as it happened.
I'll have to have a look at that. But work were auctioning off some of the stuff from the office because we're moving out permanently, and they had an iMac that no one was using. It was just on a shelf. So this was on the video call that I was in the hammock in. So it was relaxing. Like, okay, there's a few bits I want. So the iMac comes up. I said, "Is there a reserve?" In the chat, boss said, "No reserve. £10. No one else bid. Sold."
Good man. That's what you got to do. And it's kind of the same with cars, isn't it? You've just got to. It does make sense to anyone, but if it's a fun little project, try it. And again, if you can make something cool out of it, what I like with the computer thing is that there's always a limit where kind of if it's totally screwed, pull it all out, start again. Whereas with the car front, I don't think like if there's rust, you'll be chasing more and more and more. And there's no. That's why one of the things I always say is if you're buying a car, make sure the bodywork's good because mechanicals there's always a limit. Whereas like if the engine's blown, pull it out, you buy a new engine. Whereas if you got rust, you cut it and there's more, and you cut it and there's more, and you're going to be chasing it forever around the entire thing. There's always a limit on mechanical stuff. So yeah, that's what I always advise people is buy something structurally good. Whereas with computers, just if it breaks, change everything.
Yeah, but I don't like Apple. I'm a PC, Windows. I'm happy with that. So the idea is just to flog the Mac and buy a PC with that.
You're
I mean,
dancing.
right now I'm
I'm,
sat in my sim racing setup. So
I
it
can
will
see
be,
that seat looks awesome.
yeah, another eBay. I love eBay. It's too addictive.
That's the wrong. But yeah, the one too many bad decisions made on eBay. I think I can vouch for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and hopefully I'll be able to use it for some editing as well. Or my work laptop is powerful enough, so it's all good on there.
yeah, it's. I think almost because it's all very well being into cars, but making the car YouTube thing, you've also got to be into filming. You've got to know how cameras work, and then, like you say, you've got to know how to edit. And you've got to, if you're editing and your computer crashes, you've got to think, right, what does a corrupted file mean, and how to, and there's a lot more to it than just going, "Hi guys, here's my car," and then you still get one dickhead who leaves a comment saying your lighting was shit. So it's
Yeah,
it's,
my
it's
reaction was either do I delete it, do I comment on it, or do I just make fun of it by liking it and loving the comment and pinning it? But I'm going to
yeah,
pin it just so everyone can see what a dickhead this person is.
exactly. I had
How
a comment
stupid's
once.
funny.
I had a comment once. It was one of the Classics World ones that I did for work, and we did like a Q&A with each of us. So on my video, and I said something like, and I produce every video that we do because I do. And there was one video that we had an external guy create because I wasn't available, so we paid a guy one off to do. And someone comments like, "You did every video except this one." And I was like, "Oh, it's just such a dick comment. What's that supposed to? What does that add?"
Yeah,
But
no, it adds
there you go.
nothing. But I thought
By the same
let's.
token, you get people on YouTube who leave occasionally you get a really, really nice comment, and I've had people say, "Oh, it's been really, really good to watch your videos in lockdown because I've been bored and there's something." And again, if someone's watched it and you enjoyed it, then frankly, it's all been worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. I think I took a page out of It's Joel's. I don't know if you know the channel. He's
Yes,
got
yeah,
a
yeah, with
yeah.
the
So he does
zesty,
the
yeah,
thing where he screenshots like wanker of the day or wanker of the video,
yeah, on
puts
his
it on his
Instagram.
Instagram. It's brilliant. It is good fun. And the thing is, if they're following him on YouTube and commenting, it might be likely that they see him on Instagram. So
Yeah,
they're just going
so
to
they
see
exactly.
you see
I
themselves
think
get the mick taken out of by everyone, and that's the best comeback for that.
the way I look at it is if you're taking the time to put the effort in, make your own video, film it, edit it, do your thing, you're already better than some dick with no YouTube videos at all who leaves a comment.
Yeah, you're putting
So,
yourself out there. Everyone's going to say something, but at the end of the day, you're enjoying it. I mean, we get to do this. We get to talk to car people, living
ultimately, this
our
is what we
dream
all want.
jobs.
Let's be honest, we all just want to spend our whole lives in a room talking cars with car people, driving cars, talking about cars. And if we can do that and show everyone else as well, why not? Have a bit of fun with it.
That's probably the perfect place to end, I think. But we're not
Let's
finishing
finish,
just
isn't
yet.
it?
Not finishing just yet because we're going to do the quick fire questions, which are some questions that I know and some that I'll come up the top of my head and will have no relevance whatsoever.
That's
But
what
let's
we're all
start
about.
with a
Random.
classic. You ready?
Go for it.
What's your favourite crisp flavour?
Favorite crisp flavor is prawn cocktail.
Another prawn cocktail. That I think that I'm going to have to start doing a tally because most of the guests have said prawn cocktail.
Being little
I,
up in the corner, exactly.
yeah, I don't
You've
like
had good taste on her.
it. Fortunately, prawn cocktail is not for me. Sour cream and onion is
Oh,
like.
that's a close second. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll let you have that one. I was about to click off the call if you'd said salt and vinegar. So
oh no, no.
okay, good,
No,
good. You're all
they're
right.
the ones that are just left in the drawer at home. Like,
That's the spare, exactly.
yeah. And my mum like grimacingly eats them so it's not wasted. But
We've all done that. It's like when you have the tub of heroes at Christmas. Some eclairs, they just do, just because they're there.
yeah, okay. Favorite chocolate?
Favorite chocolate is double decker. Does that count?
Has it got chocolate?
It's got chocolate, so I'm having that double decker.
Yeah,
There
it
you go.
counts.
Classic. I love it.
What's your favorite song right now?
Oh. um, I haven't got a favorite song specifically, so it's probably not the manliest choice, but I'm really into a lot of what Dua Lipa's doing at the moment. I've just bought her new album, so most of Dua Lipa's new stuff. There you go.
That's right. I love Ariana Grande, and earlier this year I actually went to a concert at the O2, and it was
Man.
the best time. So
I feel less bad admitting that now. Yeah. But Dua Lipa's got a proper 80s vibe on at the moment. So yeah, Dua Lipa, that's what I'm going with.
cool. What's your favorite film of all time?
Favorite film? Gump with Tom Hanks. Oh, fantastic film.
So I think it kind of. Did you say Forrest Gump?
I did, yes, with Tom Hanks. Fantastic film.
Brilliant film. I absolutely love anything that Tom Hanks does. All of his
Yeah.
films are brilliant, just on another level.
Yeah. Sorry, every time I say, okay, carry on. Sorry about that. That's the reality. He's filming at home now, whereas if we had a studio, it'd be
there we
fine.
go.
But yeah, Forrest Gump, fantastic film. That's one of those films I think if you haven't seen it, you need to, because no matter what age you are, what kind of film you're into, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. I highly rank that film. I think my favourite film all time is probably Rush, the 70s, 60s
Yeah.
Formula One.
Man of taste. I was watching that the other day. Cracking film.
So good. I mean, I really like Natalie Dormer as well, and she appears in it, so it's a plus for me.
That's a really good film. I forgot watching Le Mans 66 the other day as well. I forgot how good that was. That is really
so good. I ranked that just underneath Rush, purely because Rush is Formula One.
Right, yeah, Rush is awesome. The only problem with Le Mans 66 is it's quite long. I think it's 3.5 hours or something crazy. It's quite a long film.
Really? I didn't think it was that long.
It's quite lengthy, but I could be wrong. But yeah, in fairness, bloody good film. But sorry, that's like the least quickfire answer ever. But there you go.
I actually, if it's a longer film but it's good, I don't mind. I don't really enjoy these 90-minute quick-fire, no plot development films that are just.
If it's longer but it's not a drag, exactly.
Yeah, I think Le Mans 66 isn't a drag. Well, for me, it wasn't anyway.
I went and watched it in the cinema twice.
I envy you. Yeah. I watched it once.
Get it, man. It's on DVD now, or insert your streaming platform of choice. Yeah.
Really good. I'm gonna wait till it comes up free on Prime. Well, you answered one question: is do you have any pets? You have a dog. What dog do you have?
I do have a dog. Yes. Is the only pet I have. He's a Jack Russell Terrier called Ted, and I think he's the only Jack Russell Terrier in the world that doesn't yap constantly or at all ever. In fact, so yeah, we've struck lucky with him. He's lovely. Yeah, he's awesome.
Cool. God, more quick fire questions. Quick opinion on the Grand Tour.
I'm gonna get some hate for this. Not as good as I was hoping it was going to be. Ooh. I think by giving them no rules and no budget, they're not restricted enough to be creative. That's a very sort of cynical way to look at it, but I feel like when they had more budgetary and what you can say restrictions, they were being more creative. But I'm in the minority with that.
That is actually quite that I think internet talk with you, that's big brain time.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a really interesting way of thinking about it.
There we go. Put in the comments what your opinion is.
Yeah, I loved it because it was a trio. They were stupidly hilarious. The cars they were showing were brilliant.
So don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic. Again, going back to the editing, the production value is amazing, and I mean Top Gear is good now, even with the production value, but it knocks Top Gear into a cop hat in terms of how well it's made. The video production is incredible. But at the moment, for fear of attracting, this is going to get your video more thumbs down than anything else.
Let's do it.
I'm enjoying Top Gear more at the moment.
Well, I will add to my own dislike count by saying that I love the new Top Gear. I think
I'm glad you said that.
Brilliant. Because first of all, he can drive racing cars properly. But Paddy McGuinness and Freddie Flintoff, originally I thought, who the hell are these people? But they are hilarious. They're absolutely hilarious. And they all bond really well. I think they've bonded brilliantly.
They've done brilliant. And it's like, I don't know if you've seen the live stream. They did something like this. They just did like a Zoom call video on the Top Gear YouTube channel. This sounds like an advert now. And it's, again, because that's not scripted, obviously, because they're just chatting. And it is really nice that they take the mick out of each other and they comment and stuff. And it's brilliant. But I would admit, I doubted them. I saw that. I thought it was going to be there, and I thought, that's going to be utter crap. I'll watch one episode just to confirm that it's crap, and then I can move on. And I think the first episode they did was that one where they were in Africa somewhere with like their first cars. And it was the best episode in years. And I thought, there's some stuff with Clarkson, Hammond and May that wasn't as good as that. This could work. And now look where they are now. I mean, we'll gloss over that Diablo incident, but they're onto a good thing. So long may that continue.
Yeah. I still enjoyed it with Matt LeBlanc. I think I just like Chris Harris because I knew that he was a proper car guy. I can watch it for what he's doing in it.
The only problem I had with the Matt LeBlanc era was I felt like Rory was a really untapped resource. Like they'd have so many pieces where Chris and Matt were off doing things, and Rory was hardly ever in their pieces. Like there was very rarely all three of them, and there were very few pieces of him on his own. I feel like Rory was a really untapped resource.
Yeah, that might be because he had the extra gear slot where he was the main person, wasn't he? But even
True. I
then,
mean,
you're one of the three main presenters. You need to be one of the three main presenters, not just the extra and you're in because we can't find anyone else.
so I was a studio audience member on one episode of Top Gear, and it was the one where I think the three segments they had the Ferrari 812, that big tractor thing they built, and the Camaro ZL1, which was the thing that Rory did. That was his feature, and he literally came in, introduced that, did the outro to that, and then he wasn't in the studio for basically the rest of it because he didn't need to be because he wasn't in anything. And I mean, I'm quite glad in some ways that he's got that Auto Trader gig now because they're actually giving him a bit of limelight, which I think he deserves. I think he's bloody good. But again, Top Gear's onto a good thing now, so long may that continue.
Yeah, yeah, right. I think we've trashed this video with our opinions enough.
I dread to think what your dislike rating is going to be after this.
Well, with my view count, I think I'm okay. In a few years' time, we'll come back to this and go, "Oh yeah, we screwed ourselves over."
80% dislike ratio. Sorry, that's my bad.
Right, so now I'll hand it over to you. Anything that you've got going on, anything you want to plug? Well, they've been plugging quite a lot, but you can plug properly now. This is your official
plug. I should have cleared that with you first.
Oh no, it's fine. So, yeah,
if you
yours.
check out what I do, if you want to check out what I do, my channel is called Miller Corner. Or put Fiat Seicento into YouTube. Most of the stuff on there is me. What I do for my day job is Classics World. I'm not always in the videos, but I make them and edit them. Same with Fast Car. I don't make them, I'm not in them, but I make them and edit them. And yeah, if you want to read classic car by a newspaper occasionally, I write for that. So if you want to hear what I have to say, but you don't want to listen to my irritating voice, that's the best way to do it.
Yep, and I'll put all the links and stuff.
And just
below.
Obviously, as well as that, thanks for having me along, man. Really, really appreciate it.
So thanks for coming along.
Really good
it's
fun.
been great talking to you, getting to know you a little bit more, and actually meeting another person that's in the YouTube car community.
Yeah, likewise. It's always nice to, like we say, that YouTube car family that we've got going on. That very weird family. But yeah, been awesome, man. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me along. Been brilliant.
Yeah, no, perfect. And we'll catch up later.
Indeed. Best of luck with your channel and everything. And yeah, thanks to everyone for listening and watching and stuff.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye bye.